Chapter 1169. As the strange bell rang, Faceless, who was hiding in the dark, tensed up. He felt that something was wrong. As expected, the bell released a circle of grayish-white ripples that swept towards the spatial river and circled around the place where the round demon had left. Gradually, the spatial energy around the leaping river strangely gathered towards the source of the ripples. The space there began to shake like a sheet that was constantly shaking. The shaking grew stronger and stronger, as if the entire void was about to be shaken into dust. At this moment, whoosh, a strange sound rang out. The place where the void was shaking suddenly emitted a dazzling light. Then, a figure flew out of the light. He seemed to be caught by something and couldn't break free at all. He fell onto the cloud, not far away. Faceless, who was hiding in the dark, immediately focused his gaze. The round demon. He had been captured. How is this possible? The round demon had clearly left this place through the spatial river. How did he get captured again? What method did the immortal court use? Faceless couldn't believe what he was seeing. The moment the round demon was captured, the immortal court people immediately surrounded him. The leader raised his magic treasure again, and a black wooden box appeared in his palm. He opened the wooden box and activated his immortal chi. A dark stream of air shot out from the wooden box and blew towards the round demon. This time, let's see how you can escape. This is a magic treasure that was specially given to us by the higher-ups to capture you. Even a profound spirit god can escape from their capture. Accept your fate. The leader sneered. Although there weren't many people from the immortal court this time, they had all come prepared. The air current enveloped the round demon. The round demon turned pale with fright and hurriedly activated his demonic chi in an attempt to escape. However, his entire body seemed to have been completely sealed by the air current. No matter how he tried, the demonic chi couldn't leave his body, let alone fight against the air current. His body slowly moved towards the wooden box. At this moment, all his strength was used to fight against the air current, let alone against the other immortals. Go! The leader who activated the wooden box shouted. The immortal court people on both sides immediately rushed over and attacked the round demon. Bang, bang, bang. Several iron fists and iron feet smashed onto the round demon's body, directly dispersing the demonic energy that wanted to rush out of his body. The moment the demonic energy dispersed, the chi meridian became chaotic, and the round demon's body immediately became turbulent. He let out a cry and spat out a mouthful of blood. His strength collapsed, and he was powerless to resist the airflow. His body directly flew towards the wooden box. This is bad. In the dark, Faceless was anxious and was about to rush out. If the round devil was captured by the opponent, with the means of the immortal court, even if the round devil would rather die than speak, it would be useless. The immortal court would definitely be able to dig out everything in his heart easily. Faceless clenched his teeth. After thinking about it again and again, he decided to take action. If he did not save the round demon, he would not be able to explain himself to Su Yun. But right at this moment, the round demon that was about to be sucked into the wooden box suddenly had a strange phenomenon. His body released a large amount of devil chi, and this devil chi seemed to have directly broken out of his body. His entire body was covered in sinister and terrifying cracks, and a large amount of blood was produced from the place where the devil chi was leaking out. The round demon seemed to have forcefully used his own devil chi to resist this stream of air. Although the effect of doing so was indeed very good, the price seemed to be a little too high. He bled from his 7 orifices, gritted his teeth, and directly rushed out of the air current. However, just as he rushed out, several strands of immortal chi attacked from the side, fiercely smashing into his body, causing his entire body to fall down once again towards the clouds at the side. Bang. The round demon landed on the ground, gasping for breath. His face was abnormally pale, as if he was already at the end of his tether. The magic treasure of the immortal court was too shocking. Whiz! At this moment, Faceless, who was at the side, came out. He couldn't wait any longer. If this continued, the round demon would definitely die. Ooh! The leader noticed that someone was coming over and immediately shouted. However, that person ignored the people from the immortal court and directly rushed towards the round demon. Faceless, the round demon opened his eyes wide and looked at the person who was coming over. Although Faceless had disguised himself, he could still recognize who this person was from his eyes that were filled with madness. You can't come out. If you come out, the immortal-seeking sect will never be able to get rid of the suspicion. The round demon murmured, but slowly closed his eyes. Elder Yuanimo, are you all right? Faceless flew quickly, secretly activating the immortal chi to send a message to the round demon. Faceless, stop immediately, I can't save you anymore. The round demon's voice was a little weak. Elder Yuanimo, what do you mean by that? Faceless was stunned, not understanding what the round demon meant at all. If I am saved by you today, these people from the immortal court will definitely confirm that the immortal-seeking sect has a connection with the true devil realm. In this way, everything that the demon king and the sect master have worked hard for will be in vain, and the true devil realm will also welcome a disaster. But if I don't save you, don't worry. I will keep all the secrets and will never let the people of the immortal court know anything about us. The round demon said, then stood up with difficulty. He stared at Faceless, who was rushing over, spat out a mouthful of blood, took a deep breath, and shouted, You want to catch me? Humph, don't even think about it. Even if I die, I won't let you catch me. As his voice fell, a terrifying and strong aura of destruction suddenly gushed out from the inside of the round demon. This is? Oh no! The faces of the people of the immortal court all changed. They were originally approaching the round demon, but after the appearance of this aura, they all retreated crazily. Faceless was stunned. When he came to his senses, it was too late to stop it. Oh no! Self-destruct of the soul. The leader's face changed, and he immediately shouted angrily, Quick, stop him! It's too late, Captain. If we go now, we will die. Retreat. The other people of the immortal court shouted. The leader gritted his teeth and finally had to give up. The body of the round demon was already broken, and the aura of destruction appeared too quickly, and there was no way to stop it. No one expected that the round demon would choose such an extreme method at this time. Elder Round Demon. Faceless still wanted to save it, but what was done. The body of the round demon swelled, and the wounds on its body stopped bleeding. Instead, it was replaced by endless aura of destruction. The aura of destruction seemed to be pouring out crazily. Soon, the aura of destruction drowned him and filled the surroundings. Then it directly exploded. Boom! The violent sound seemed to shatter the vast sky. The shocking explosion dispersed the clouds here, and the whole sky was filled with the aura of destruction, and then dissipated. In the end, everything here turned into nothingness. There was no wind, no clouds, and even the sky became extremely dark. After an unknown period of time, the light gradually became stronger. The leader and the rest of the people of the immortal court stared at this place with their mouths agape. Everyone's face was petrified, and there was no change for a long time. Faceless was close to it and received a lot of the impact of the explosion. He was sent flying more than 1,000 meters away. When he stabilized his body, the figure of the round demon was long gone, and not even a trace of its soul was left. It was completely dead, completely disappeared. He died just like that. The great clan elder of the true devil sect, the leader of the immortal-seeking sect, and the one who defeated the immortal world together with Su Yun, had left just like that. He was completely unaware of the pain on Faceless' body. His eyes were completely fixed on the place where the round demon had exploded, as if he could not believe what had happened in front of him. The scene was silent for a long time. Even the sound of the wind was gone, as if the entire world had stopped moving. After an unknown period of time, the leader was the first to react. He rushed over and stood at the place where the round demon had exploded. He closed his eyes and felt for a moment, then said in a deep voice, It seems like we've been busy for nothing. The mission target is dead. Bastard. Everyone was furious. But very quickly, everyone's gazes were focused on Faceless. The leader immediately flew over, while the rest of the people surrounded Faceless, all of them looking at him vigilantly. The immortal chi was immediately activated by them, as if it could burst out at any time. "Who are you?" "I am from the Immortal Seeking Sect." Faceless immediately said, "Everyone, don't panic. I'm only here to help you under the orders of Vice Sect Leader Yang." From the Immortal Seeking Sect? These people were all puzzled. Seeing this, Faceless hurriedly took out the token of the Immortal Seeking Sect and showed it to them. Everyone's doubts were dispelled when they saw it. At this time, a large number of people from the Immortal Seeking Sect flew over from afar. They were here, symbolically, to help the Immortal Court. Seeing this, these people from the Immortal Court dispelled their doubts and stopped talking. Since the mission target is dead, we can only look for clues from other places. The leader said in a deep voice, "Everyone, take a break. We'll communicate with our superiors later and then make plans." "Yes, leader. Alas, what a pity. We spent so many peerless magic treasures, but failed to capture the target. I'm afraid we won't be able to explain it to our superiors." "Yeah, we got nothing in the end, alas," everyone sighed. But at this time, "Leader," a person from the Immortal Court exclaimed. The leader immediately looked over and saw the person from the Immortal Court raising the token in his hand and looking at him with a dull expression. The leader frowned and asked in a deep voice, "What's wrong?" Captain, Devil Dweller. Devil Dweller is attacking our Immortal Court." That person spat out these few words with a trembling mouth. Everyone's hearts almost jumped out of their throats when they heard this. Attacking the Immortal Court? Since the establishment of the Immortal Court, well, had they ever been attacked? And this time, it was a demon. Chapter 1170. The people of the Immortal Seeking Sect flew towards the Immortal Seeking Sect one after another. The group of people from the Immortal Court had already left in such a hurry that they did not even have the time to greet the Immortal Seeking Sect. There was no need for them to greet a lowly sect like the Immortal Seeking Sect. Faceless was the last to return. The moment he returned, he stood at the entrance of the sect master's cultivation ground. He stood there quietly without saying a word, and no one knew what he was thinking. When Su Luluo and Xiang Yang found out that Faceless had returned, they immediately rushed over. She told all the nearby disciples to leave, then walked in front of Faceless and asked anxiously, "How is Elder Yuan Mo? Did you manage to escape?" For some reason, Su Luluo had a bad premonition. Faceless' performance was too silent. If the round demon escaped safely, maybe he would not be like this. Xiang Yang also looked at Faceless nervously, hoping that he would say something. However, Faceless remained silent, but this time he gently shook his head. Seeing Faceless' actions, the eyes of the two trembled, and they fell silent. Elder Yuan Mo is dead. Unknowingly, when a low voice came out from Faceless' mouth. Hearing that, Xiang Yang was so shocked that he took 2 steps back and sat on the ground, unable to say a word for a long time. Was he killed by the people of the Immortal Court? Su Luluo took a deep breath, stared at Faceless, and asked. Although her cultivation was not as good as Xiang Yang's, she had the effect of the exquisite color, and her temperament was much stronger than Xiang Yang's. Faceless shook his head. He was not killed by the people of the Immortal Court, but forced to his death by them. What the hell is going on? Su Luluo asked. Faceless hesitated for a moment, then told them everything he had seen. The two of them were speechless for a long time. Without a doubt, the reason why the Round Demon had sacrificed himself was to protect the Immortal Seeking Sect, the Great Ling Long Palace, the Hidden Dragon Hall, the Carefree Hall, and the 8 Harmonies Sect. He had sacrificed himself for the future of the true Devil Realm, and this was a righteous sacrifice, so it was naturally worth it. However, with the death of the Round Demon, these people did not know how to explain it to Su Yun. To Su Yun, the Round Demon could be said to be a teacher and a friend. The importance of the Round Demon to Su Yun was simply hard to estimate. "Miss, what should we do?" Xiang Yang carefully asked Su Luluo. But Su Luluo sighed heavily and said indifferently, "He is already dead. It is useless to say too much. What we can do now is not to let Elder Yuan Mo die in vain. The people of the immortal court left in a hurry. If I'm not wrong, Qin Xianlong and the rest must have already attacked the immortal court, and with their appearance, the attention of the immortal court will most likely be diverted, and the immortal seeking sect will also be clear of suspicion. We are temporarily safe now. With all our strength, we will integrate the immortal seeking sect, continue to mine the spirit mines, recuperate well, and secretly set up a memorial tablet for Elder Yuan and Mo Yes. In addition, ask Kai Tian of the Eight Door to make preparations to support Qin, Qianlong, and Xingbai. Ensure that they can safely evacuate. No more sacrifices can be made. Yes, Xiang Yang said, and then retreated with a heavy expression. Su Luluo looked at Faceless, sighed, and turned to leave. Once the news of the death of the Round Demon reached the ears of the people of the True Devil sect, who knew how much turmoil it would cause, beside the Beiyang border battlefield, the army formed by Ming Chong and the army formed by the Beiyang Chamber of Commerce were quickly gathering and heading towards the battlefield. The letter of challenge had been issued. Today was the day of the decisive battle. When Ming Chong arrived at the border barracks, he couldn't wait to open the gates of Beiyang so that he could conquer Beiyang. As a main chamber of commerce, Beiyang's resources and wealth were incomparable to the other realms. As long as he conquered Beiyang, he could easily obtain the next few realms. With Beiyang, Ming Chang's strength would definitely soar, and the rest of the realms would definitely be easy to obtain. Su Yun, Hu Qianmei, and Huairou Muyu arrived in front of the army. At this moment, Marshal Gu had already ordered the generals to line up the army and prepare themselves. The soldiers all raised their blades high up, looking like they could start a war at any time. On the other side was the Ming Chong army that was constantly gathering. At first glance, the Beiyang army seemed to have around 500,000 people, while the Ming Chong army had around 700,000 people, and most of the people in the Ming Chong army were stronger than the Beiyang army. The Beiyang army was almost all hired spirit cultivator. Their strength was uneven, and many people had never participated in such a battle before. Many of the people in the Ming Chong army had experienced the wars of several realms. Even if they did not have much battle experience, they were still much stronger than the Beiyang army. President, seeing that Huairou Muyu and Hu Qianmei had arrived, Marshal Gu immediately walked over and bowed. Huairou Muyu nodded. She glanced at the army, and then turned her bright eyes towards the other side. The soldiers on the other side were all extremely solemn. Their entire bodies were filled with killing intent. One look was enough to tell that they were an army formed by well-trained spirit cultivator. At this time, there was a commotion in the army of Ming Chong army. Following that, a row of generals riding on tall horses, led by a spirit cultivator sitting on a golden jade carriage, walked to the front of the formation. This person was extremely luxurious. The carriage under his crotch was pulled by 4 Qilin like spirit beasts. He sat inside the carriage, leaning against the phoenix feather chair, hugging an extremely beautiful woman dressed in extremely revealing clothes. In front of him was a small table. The table was filled with delicacies. His face was flushed red, and his mouth was reaching towards the wine cup handed over by one of the women. The man drank a mouthful, his face full of satisfaction. His slightly intoxicated eyes faintly looked over when he saw Hu Qianmei and Huairou Muyu standing in front of the formation. His slightly intoxicated eyes immediately released waves of gold light. His entire face also became sluggish for a moment. After a moment, he exclaimed in surprise, "Is this person Ming Chong?" Huairou Muyu asked indifferently. "Yes," Marshal Gu said. What a disgusting face." Hu Qianmei pouted and said, then secretly glanced at Su Yun, who was standing beside him. Taking advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention, he actually reached out and grabbed at Su Yun's crotch. Su Yun's legs went limp, and he almost fell to the ground. Seeing the girl covering her lips and giggling, he became angry and secretly snorted. He channeled his immortal chi and created an illusion, while his real body immediately became invisible and walked to Hu Qianmei's side without any scruples, his big hands directly grabbing towards her chest and buttocks. Hu Qianmei was shocked. She felt a familiar feeling coming from all the vital parts of her body. She anxiously looked at Su Yun. only to see that Su Yun was standing there like a statue, as though he was stunned. But this feeling, she dared to conclude that it was Su Yun's hand. Damn it, Big Brother only knows how to do bad things. Hu Qianmei gasped for breath, his face flushed red, and said weakly, Mayer, what's wrong? Why does your face look like this? Is there something wrong with you? Huiro Muyu, who was at the side, saw it, and asked curiously. No, nothing, Hu Qianmei immediately said. But at this moment, she suddenly let out a strange cry. Her voice was like a cat's. Huiro Muyu and Marshal Ge looked at her curiously, not understanding what was going on. Hu Qianmei immediately squeezed out a smile, covering up the awkwardness, and quickly turned his head away. Huiro Muyu thought for a moment, but did not say anything. Hu Qianmei felt that her legs were going soft, the big tail behind her, but was swaying hard. Her small hand were tightly holding on her clothes. Tears seemed to be about to flow out of her eyes. Big Brother, Mayor knows her wrongs. Please, please, please let me go. Hu Qianmei seemed to be unable to take it anymore, and softly begged for mercy. However, the pair of hands that were still groping all over her body did not stop, only to hear Su Yun's voice ring in her ears. Let's see if you still dare to act recklessly in front of me. I won't dare to do it again. Big Brother, spare me, spare me, spare me. Seeing that Hu Qianmei was about to cry, Su Yun did not want to go overboard. He pinched her butt and laughed. All right, I'll let you go this time. If there's a next time, I'll directly deal with you. Retracting her hand, Hu Qianmei felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from her shoulders, and she fiercely exhaled. But at the moment, her face was flushed red, and her eyes were watery, as if she had fallen in love. She turned her head to look at Su Yun behind her, and bit her lips. The meaning in her eyes was obvious. Su Yun naturally saw it, but he still had important matters to attend to, so he could not act recklessly. He could only glare at Hu Qianmei sternly, and then shifted his gaze away. Although Hu Qianmei was moved, she was still able to distinguish the current situation. She muttered, her round legs twisted a little, and did not say anything else. Ha ha ha. Could these two be the two presidents of the Beiyang Chamber of Commerce? Great, great. It was indeed, as the rumors said. She was truly an outstanding beauty, and I couldn't help but feel pity for her. Looks like this lord is blessed. I'm in luck. Ha! Just then, a burst of wild laughter disturbed the flirting between Su Yun and Hu Qianmei. Looking at Ming Chongjuan sighed. Ming Chong, who was sitting on the carriage, immediately moved over with an excited smile on his face. His eyes were filled with naked greed, and he immediately sized up Huiro Muyu and Hu Qianmei, as if he was looking at his own things. Huiro Muyu did not say anything. It was as if she did not hear those words, but Hu Qianmei did not dare. She hugged her huge breast with both hands, snorted lightly, and asked, Ayaya, where did this dog come from? Why is it barking here? So noisy. It's so noisy. Hearing that, a trace of anger flashed past Ming Chang's eyes, but the smile on his face did not diminish. He rubbed his chin and sized Hu Qianmei up, his face filled with satisfaction, and he kept nodding his head, his hands grabbing onto the woman's chest, and immediately exerted force, causing the woman to cry in pain, but she did not dare to make sound. Interesting, huh? Ming Chong stared at Hu Qianmei, his smile becoming more and more arrogant. Chapter 1171. Hearing Ming Chang's mocking and playful words, Huiro Muyu could endure it, but Hu Qianmei could not. She snorted coldly, the anger in her eyes obvious. Interesting? I also think that this dog of yours is interesting. It looks like a human, but it always barks like a dog. It's really noisy. Hearing that, Ming Chong squinted his eyes and laughed. Little girl, are you scolding me? I'm scolding dogs. Hu Qianmei's small mouth was extremely poisonous, especially when she met someone she hated. Hearing that, Ming Chong laughed out loud. I'm getting more and more excited. I never thought that I would encounter such a thing today. He suddenly focused his eyes, and a cold light flashed past the depths of his eyes. He stared at Hu Qianmei with a burning gaze, and his voice became even more gloomy. Little girl, I'll let you be arrogant for a while now. When I capture you later, I'll make you kneel in front of me and beg me for mercy. It was like a threat, but Hu Qianmei was not afraid at all. Or perhaps it could be said that Su Yun was standing behind her, giving her an unprecedented sense of security, as well as the courage to not be afraid of the heavens or the earth. She did not know how strong Su Yun was, but even if she could not defeat Ming Chong, she would still say that, and that was how she acted. TSK, who doesn't know how to boast? Let's see who will cry and beg for mercy later. Hu Qianmei disapproved. Ming Chong nodded his head and laughed. Good, good. We'll see the results later. With that, Ming Chong was about to retreat and prepare for battle. But at this time, Huai Romu Yu, who had been silent the entire time, spoke up. Lord Ming Chong, there's no need to be in such a hurry to leave. We haven't spoken yet. Hearing that, Ming Chong raised his hand, signaling for the carriage to stop, and then looked to Huai Romu Yu with interest and laughed. What is it? Does President Huai Ro have anything else to say? If you want to bow down to me and surrender to me, then I'll be very happy. Hearing that, Huai Romu Yu's expression did not change, as though he did not hear Ming Chang's words, and directly said, Lord Ming Chong, I would like to ask you, who gave you so many immortal treasures? After he said this, Ming Chang's expression changed slightly. He laughed and said, What immortal treasure? What are you talking about? Don't quibble. Although my Beiyang commerce is located in the ultimate martial world, we have collected countless rare treasures, and there are a few incredible immortal treasures, but these immortal treasures were all searched for by my Beiyang commerce in the entire ultimate martial world, and ordinary people are unable to obtain them. And through the qi that these treasures are leaking out, I can determine that the treasures you are using are also created by immortals. Master Ming Chong, let me ask you, are you related to the immortals of the immortal world? As soon as he finished speaking, exclamations of surprise sounded out from the surroundings. Immortals? To the people of the ultimate martial world, it could be said to be an even higher and more powerful existence. To be able to ascend to such a level, I am afraid that only those who stand at the peak of the ultimate martial world can do so, right? Everyone discussed softly. None of them understood Huai Romu Yu's words, but Ming Chang's face changed. He snorted and said, Immortals are high and mighty. No one can blaspheme them. How can I be related to immortals? Lord Ming Chong seems to be very afraid of getting involved with immortals. What's there to be afraid of? If I can obtain the favor of an immortal, that would be the fortune of 3 lifetimes. But in truth, these treasures of mine were not bestowed by immortals, and I do not know any immortals. They were all obtained by chance. Ming Chong said, but Huai Romu Yu and Su Yin did not believe his words. If Ming Chong did not have any connection with immortals, he would not be so nervous. And if he did have any connection with immortals, then once this matter was spread out and entered the ears of the immortal court would definitely send people to investigate, and his good days would come to an end. From Ming Chang's performance, he should not have much of a relationship with the immortal court, but he did not know which immortal sect he was from. Is that so? That is such a pity. If Lord Ming Chong is indeed connected to the immortals, we would be terrified and would definitely bow our heads and surrender to you. Since you are not fated with the immortals, we will have to resist and fight with you. Huai Romu Yu said indifferently. Ming Chang's expression tensed up, as though he wanted to say something, but he gave up in the end. Without saying a word, he turned and walked into the army. Very quickly, the carriage disappeared into the army. After a while, the sound of war drums and horns came out from the back of the army. All the Spirit Cultivator S had already taken out their Magic Treasure S and activated their profound strength. From the looks of it, they did not plan to be in a stalemate with the Beiyang army. Prepare for battle, Huai Romu Yu said indifferently. When Marshal Gu heard this, he immediately gave the highest order. In an instant, the Beiyang army was in an uproar, and the sound of war drums shook the sky. The roars of the spirit beasts and the collision between the swords and sabers began. A great battle was about to begin. Seeing that, Huai Romu Yu and Hu Qianmei also retreated. The flames of war were merciless, although they were stronger than most of the soldiers here. but no one could say for sure what would happen on the battlefield. It was hard to guarantee that no accidents would happen, and usually a leader would stay at the back and control the situation. Mayor, just as Hu Qianmei was about to leave, Su Yun suddenly spoke up. What's wrong, brother? Hu Qianmei turned and asked. You don't have to retreat. Come with me to find Ming Chang, Su Yun said slowly. Hu Qianmei was startled, but the intelligent her quickly understood Su Yun's meaning. She immediately nodded and walked to Su Yun's side. Seeing that Hu Qianmei did not retreat, Marshal Ji's heart was filled with doubts, but Huai Mu Yu did not say anything, so he followed. This was a decisive battle, a big battle between the spirit cultivators on both sides. There are not too many schemes. There is only a head-on conflict, a competition of strength, a competition of cultivation, a competition of strength. In this place, courage alone was not enough to survive. One also needed to look at the methods. The key to winning this battle lay in the performance of the spirit cultivators on both sides. The soldiers on both sides were ready to go, and all kinds of dazzling halos began to emerge from the crowd. The soldiers in the front row held broadswords in their hands, and their bodies were covered in shining armor. They would be the first to charge forward as a suicide squad, and behind them were a large number of strange and dazzling spiritual beasts. These spiritual beasts were all used in battle, and almost all of them were ferocious beasts that lived by absorbing qi. On the battlefield, their ferocious nature would be stimulated to the highest level. There was also a large number of mechanical beasts at the back. If the entire army looked down from above, it would be a mess. The spirit cultivators only occupied 70% of the overall strength of the army. Marshal Gu rode a gray horse that was covered with hard rocks, pacing in front of the formation. He coldly glanced at the army in front of him, took a deep breath, and bellowed. Ming Chang is a lowly person, killing the innocent, sinister, and evil. He's the scum of the ultimate martial world. This kind of person plunder everywhere, invade the realm, and completely bring disaster to the entire ultimate martial world. Everyone, do not be stubborn. I advise everyone to quickly put down the weapons in your hands and quickly surrender. If not, don't blame my Beiyang army for being merciless. Things have already come to this. What more do you want to say? If you want to fight, then come. Just as Marshal Gu finished speaking, a man dressed in silver armor, riding a snow-white lion, spoke up. He was the commander of Ming Chang's army. He did not waste words like Marshal Gu. He immediately pulled out his sword and shouted, "Prepare to attack." As the sound of his voice faded, almost the entire Ming Chang army was in an uproar. Marshal Gu frowned. He stared at the other party. He realized that although Ming Chang's army did not have more people than his side, they had a unique aura. It was confidence. Marshal Ji's heart sank. Every single one of them was filled with confidence. Every single one of them was incomparably arrogant. They looked down on their own side, looked down on the Beiyang army, and even thought that victory was already decided, and they were the winners. Why? Because this time, Ming Chang had arrived. Ming Chang was right behind them, fighting side by side with them. This insufferably arrogant man, this legendary man who ruled over the Heavenly Dragon domain, the Mountain Rock domain, and many other domains, was right behind them. As long as they defeated the Beiyang, the entire ultimate martial world would be at their fingertips. They believed that they would definitely win this time. Ming Chang gave them confidence. No matter how inhumane the series of measures that Ming Chang had implemented in the Heavenly Dragon domain were, in the hearts of many spirit cultivator, he was still the representative of the strong. This was a world where the strong preyed on the weak, and only the strong could stand at the peak of this world, and the strong could dominate the battlefield. It wasn't that Marshal Gu didn't understand this logic. Not only him, he believed that all the soldiers present could see it and understand it. The other party was full of confidence and fearless. On the other hand, although they had the advantage in numbers, what about their strength? They were still at a disadvantage. Attack! Finally, the commander of Ming Chang's army let out a heaven-shaking roar. As the roar fell, a melodious horn sound came from behind, and wherever the sound passed, the qi of the soldiers of Ming Chang's army immediately soared, and their strength multiplied. Everyone rushed towards the Beiyang army, and the scene was like a flood after the dam was opened, rushing towards them. Seeing that the other party was going all out, the Beiyang army panicked a little. Not good. Their morale has been suppressed. Marshal Gu cursed in his heart. He stared at the incoming enemy, clenched his teeth, and angrily pulled out the broadsword at his waist, raised it high, and roared, "Brothers, defend the Beiyang. If the Beiyang falls, the entire ultimate martial world will fall into darkness forever. Kill. Kill them. Kill all these muddle-headed and ignorant people. Kill." With a furious roar, the Beiyang army could no longer hold it in and rushed forward. The two armies collided in the center, like two huge waves crashing against each other. Hu Qianmei followed closely behind Su Yun and looked at Su Yun with an indifferent face. He stared in the direction of Ming Chong, took a deep breath, and pulled Hu Qianmei. "Mayor, let's go." "Where to?" Hu Qianmei was a little confused, but just then, Su Yun suddenly hugged her waist, leaped up, and directly flew into the sky, his speed so fast that Hu Qianmei did not even have time to react, as though he had teleported. Chapter 1172. "Ah!" Hu Qianmei exclaimed. Her consciousness did not even keep up. When she regained her senses, she was already in midair. She did not know how high she was, but she could see that the people below were all like ants, and she could not even feel the profound qi. Su Yun hugged Hu Qianmei and stared down. "Mayor, big brother, do you have any instructions?" Hu Qianmei asked as she tightly grabbed onto Su Yun's clothes. "In a while, I will bring you into Ming Chang's army and directly go find Ming Chong. I will hide by the side to protect you, and you can directly go kill Ming Chong." Hearing Su Yun's words, Hu Qianmei was dumbstruck. She looked at Su Yun and muttered, "Big brother, it's just the two of us?" There are countless experts by Ming Chang's side. Even if it's an immortal, it would not be easy to take his head. After all, Ming Chong himself had a large number of immortal treasures, and these treasures came from the immortals. How could their power be ordinary? If he was careless and failed miserably in an easy task, then the gains would not make up for the losses. Su Yun laughed. He extended his hand and caressed Demon Fox Qianmei's head. "Mayor, don't worry. I've always been cautious. You can go." Seeing Su Yun's confident look, Hu Qianmei was startled. She took a deep breath and nodded. Her small face was filled with seriousness. After making her preparations, she immediately activated the profound qi and rushed towards Ming Chong. In fact, Hu Qianmei had still underestimated herself. Her physique had disappeared after Su Yun advanced to Spirit Profound God, but the previous increase was still there, even though it was not as shocking as before. But for her cultivation, it was already extremely impressive, adding the benefits of dual cultivation with Su Yun, as well as the few pills that Su Yun had given her. Hu Qianmei's cultivation was already close to the Spirit Sage. In a plane like the ultimate martial world, a Spirit Sage was practically the symbol of peak strength. For such an existence, even the ordinary spirit cultivator on the battlefield would not be able to do anything to her. A wave of pressure descended from the sky, causing Ming Chang's side to immediately react. Under the command of a few generals, the mechanism equipment at the back directly aimed at Hu Qianmei, and several terrifying and astonishing qi cannons shot towards her. The energy cannons were formed by the accumulation of the profound energy converted into destructive aura. They were dark blue in color and dragged long tails behind them. They were like angry, roaring dragons as they charged over fiercely. Seeing that, Hu Qianmei raised her small hand, and a light blue curved blade that was like a crescent moon appeared in her palm. All these years, she had become the president of the Beiyang Chamber of Commerce, and all of her magic treasure, could not be compared to the past. The curved blade's qi was extremely cold. It was extremely incompatible with Hu Qianmei's qi, but she had her eyes on this point. She activated the profound qi and injected it into the curved blade, then fiercely waved it. Two completely different energies, one hot and one cold, shot out from the blade's edge. The two energies collided with each other, releasing a large amount of destructive qi, which was not inferior to the qi cannon. The qi cannon was immediately dispersed. The remaining energy smashed into the crowd, causing a violent explosion. The people below were all thrown into a mess. The scene was in chaos. Ming Changjun was in a sorry state. Hu Qianmei was startled. Ever since she obtained the benefits of Su Yun, this was the first time she tested her current strength. She did not expect it to be so shocking. Immediately, her confidence rose. She landed in the middle of the army and began to brandish her scimitar, slashing at the approaching people. Although her body looked petite, she possessed astonishing power, and wherever the scimitar passed, blood splattered everywhere, and the surrounding soldiers could not do anything about it. Su Yun hid at the side and watched quietly. He did not plan to make a move. This kind of scene, Hu Qianmei could handle it. Behind him, Ming Chong, who was still enjoying the delicacies and beauties in the carriage, noticed the commotion not far away and immediately frowned. He stood up and looked over, and when he saw Hu Qianmei, who had killed his way into the crowd alone, his face revealed a look of shock. This fox demon actually has such ability? You came here alone to act presumptuously? Sir, don't panic. This general will go and capture him. A general at the side immediately cupped his fists and asked for orders. No need, you're not our match. Ming Chong immediately raised his hand and said indifferently, this fox demon has a strength close to that of a spirit sage. Just by relying on you alone, you will only be sending yourself to death. Close to the strength of a spirit sage? These words shocked the generals and experts at the side. These people did not know that the president of the Beiyang Chamber of Commerce was so terrifying. Master, what should we do? Could it be that he did not care? If she were to harass us from behind and disrupt our formation, it would be extremely disadvantageous to our army. Someone said. However, Ming Chong did not mind. He sneered and said, it's just someone who is close to the spirit sage. What's there to worry about? Forget about her being close to the spirit sage. Even if she is a spirit sage, in my eyes, she is just a disciple waiting to be slaughtered. You guys just watch from here. When she comes over, I will cripple her and take her as my slave for my pleasure. Hearing Ming Chang's confident words, the generals heaved a sigh of relief. They did not know how powerful Ming Chong was, but in these past few years, no matter what he did, he had never failed. Hu Qianmei's scimitar was like the scythe of a death god, wrapped in the incomparably powerful, profound qi. It crazily harvested. The surrounding soldiers were unable to stop her. Even if there were spells, when they got close to her, they would be dispersed by the dense, profound qi around her body. Marshal Ji's eyes were sharp. Seeing Hu Qianmei, who was like a goddess of war, killing her way into the enemy's army, he immediately shouted out, look, the president has killed his way to the front of Ming Chang's carriage. He is about to take Ming Chang's head. Brothers, quickly follow the president, kill his way over, behead Ming Chong, reward him with hundreds of millions of profound coin, kill. His roar was just right. When the Beiyang army, who were still a little weak, heard him, they all looked forward and discovered that the enemy army was indeed running around chaotically. As though there was a battle going on, they immediately gathered their strength and rushed inside. The morale of the Beiyang army was high, and Ming Chang's army was actually a little weak. Hu Qianmei was unstoppable and directly rushed towards Ming Chang's carriage. Seeing that the generals could no longer hold it in, Hu Qianmei was simply too arrogant, coming over alone. How could they endure it? Immediately, the dozen or so experts beside the carriage surrounded Hu Qianmei, the powerful, profound qi pressing down on her like a mountain. Hu Qianmei held onto the curved blade, and with a shout, the blade released a whirlwind, directly rushing towards the experts. When the whirlwind neared, she opened her eyes and used her illusion technique, causing the experts to see the approaching whirlwind suddenly transform into a divine dragon and directly pouncing towards them. Hu Qianmei's cultivation was strong. Her illusion technique was also extremely shocking. These generals were unable to defend against it and were stunned by the time they reacted. The whirlwind was already on their bodies. 2 of them with low cultivation were directly torn into pieces. The rest of them also had their bodies split open and were blown 100 meters away, falling to the ground. It was unknown if they were dead or alive. In a single exchange, all the experts around Ming Chong were crippled. After this battle, Hu Qianmei's name would probably overshadow Huairou Muyu. Trash. A bunch of trash. This lord spent so much money just to raise such a bunch of useless trash? Seeing that, Ming Chong was furious. He immediately stood up and kicked the two women off the carriage and coldly stared at Hu Qianmei, who was rushing over. Even the general could not stop this fox. How could the surrounding soldiers have the ability to take her down? After Hu Qianmei's move, the surrounding soldiers no longer dared to go forward. They all looked at her in fear and trepidation, surrounding her in a circle. Hu Qianmei heaved a sigh of relief. The corner of his mouth raised into a smile and directly shouted at Ming Chong. Ming Chong, if you kneel down and beg for mercy now, maybe I will leave you with an intact corpse. An intact corpse? Yes, only an intact corpse. I won't leave you alive. A person like you is a threat. I have to kill you before I can be at ease. Heh, how arrogant. Ming Chong was so angry that he laughed. However, your arrogance can only end here. In front of me, Ming Chong, everyone must bow down to me. With that, Ming Chong flipped both of his hands and took out a magic treasure. It was a transparent crystal, shaped like a heart. He poured profound qi into it, and the crystal immediately shot out a rainbow-colored light. The light did not shoot out in all directions, but gathered at one point and directly struck Hu Qianmei. Hu Qianmei did not know what kind of magic treasure it was. She anxiously turned and dodged, but the light seemed to be alive. It directly refracted in the air and struck her body. Seeing that, Ming Chong immediately clenched his hand. Crack! The crystal immediately shattered, and Hu Qianmei also opened her small mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Her body trembled slightly, her small hand tightly gripping on her chest. Is this a magic treasure that directly attacks the heart? She wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and panted. That's right. Even immortals can't dodge the attack of this magic treasure. No defense can. Ming Chong sneered. It looks powerful, but in reality, it's useless. At least it can't kill me. Hu Qianmei clenched her teeth. Holding onto the curved blade, she rushed towards Ming Chong. You're simply reckless. Ming Chong sneered, and then took out his magic treasure, preparing to counterattack. But at this moment, just as he took out his magic treasure, a strange power suddenly enveloped his palm. Before the magic treasure could be activated, it directly shattered. Crack! A crisp sound came out, and his palm was filled with fragments. Ming Chong saw it and was immediately dumbfounded. Oh, this is your magic treasure? Hu Qianmei sneered. Taking advantage of Ming Chang's moment of shock, the curved blade flew forward. Ming Chong panicked and immediately urged his qi to block. Bang! The powerful, profound qi on the curved blade caused his skin to split open, and he flew out of the carriage frame, falling to the ground in a sorry state. Hu Qianmei took advantage of the victory and chased after him, raising his curved blade and rushing forward again. Damn it! Ming Chong anxiously stood up and took out his immortal treasure once again, preparing to activate it. But just as he took out the immortal treasure that was filled with immortal qi, a strange power appeared once again, and the immortal treasure immediately shattered into pieces, as if it was forcefully crushed by something, turning into scrap in his palm. How could this be? Ming Chang's eyes widened as he looked at his own palm in disbelief. Chapter 1173. Just as Ming Chong was in a daze, Hu Qianmei's sharp scimitar had already slashed over. Although the scimitar was straight, when the blade was close to his body, it trembled slightly and shot out tens of thousands of blades. The profound qi on the surface of Ming Chang's body was immediately shattered, and the blade fiercely smashed onto his body. He was flipped over, and his chest was filled with blade marks, almost piercing through, and his internal organs could be clearly seen. He fell to the ground, but the moment he fell, taking advantage of the fact that Hu Qianmei had not attacked again, he endured the pain and used all his strength. With a kick of his legs, the profound qi exploded, and his entire body flew backwards, directly distancing himself from Hu Qianmei. Seeing that Ming Chong was no match for her, the surrounding soldiers were all shocked. The legendary man had actually been cut open by a little girl. What are you all still standing there for? Why don't you hurry up and kill her? Ming Chong held onto the wound on his chest, coughed, and shouted loudly. The soldiers were all hesitating. No one dared to go up. After all, the strength that Hu Qianmei had displayed was too strong. In fact, they all had a misunderstanding. It was not that Hu Qianmei was too strong, but that all of Ming Chang's methods had been crippled by Su Yun, who was hiding in the shadows. He could not attack, could not defend, and did not have many methods. So how could he beat Hu Qianmei's match? Seeing that the soldiers around him were all standing still, Ming Chong was about to explode with anger. Without another word, he raised his hand and slapped fiercely towards a soldier beside him. The soldier was caught off guard and was hit in the side. However, the overwhelming power that rushed out from the palm directly destroyed his body. His flesh, bones, and even his soul were directly turned to ashes. He died a miserable death, When the surrounding soldiers saw this, they were extremely shocked. If anyone is afraid of battle and stops moving forward, I will kill them all without mercy. Ming Chong shouted. His entire body was overflowing with killing intent, and when this move was revealed, it immediately stunned everyone present. Ming Chong was completely enraged. If he did not attack, he would die. If he attacked, he would die. Since that was the case, why not fight? Not to mention there were many people here. The few commanders gritted their teeth and immediately shouted for their subordinates to attack. The soldiers did not dare disobey, and under the instigation of the commanders, they rushed towards Hu Qianmei. Hu Qianmei originally wanted to take down Ming Chong, but the soldiers surrounded her, blocking her path. Helpless, she could only temporarily deal with the soldiers. But fortunately, although there were many of them, they were not strong and could not delay her for long. Seeing Hu Qianmei rushing over, Ming Chong was shocked and angry. He knew that the soldiers did not buy much time and did not even have time to escape, but he believed that he would not lose just like that. Ming Chong took a deep breath, clenched his teeth, and stared at Hu Qianmei, then suddenly roared. What are you still standing there for? Why aren't you coming out? I'm dying. His voice was very low, so low that only he could hear it. However, at this moment, a strange ripple appeared around him. Then, a gray figure appeared beside him. I can't act rashly. If the people of the Immortal Court discover my existence, it will only bring endless trouble to you, me, and the people above us. The figure spoke in a low voice. However, Ming Chong was furious. You idiot! I'm about to die here. Are you going to watch me die here? If I die, who will unify the ultimate martial world? Who will collect resources for the sect? You? The figure was silent for a moment, then said, Don't worry, I will think of a way to protect you. But I am also curious. Why did the immortal treasure you took out shatter for no reason? I still can't figure it out. If you can't think of it, then don't think about it. This woman is very evil. Ming Chong quickly swallowed a pellet and used the profound qi to seal his wounds. He then stood up and said in a low voice, I don't want you to kill this woman. You just need to do a little better. What do you want me to do? The figure said, Cripple her hands. Ming Chong said gloomily, This woman actually doesn't have much ability. I think she just has a lot of evil magic treasure. Just cripple her hands, make her unable to cast any spells, make her unable to use any treasures. That's all. No hands, no magic treasure. See how I slowly torture her to death. That's simple. The figure nodded, and then moved. As though he had teleported, he instantly appeared in front of Hu Qianmei. A chill instantly enveloped Hu Qianmei. Her entire body involuntarily trembled, a cold feeling enveloping her entire body. For some reason, at this moment, she felt that she was close to death. What was going on? In this split second, she couldn't help but ask herself. However, no one could give her an answer. In such a short period of time, no one could give her an answer. In the distance, Ming Chong stared coldly at this side, the corner of his mouth raised into a strange smile. Immortal has made a move. You will definitely die, he thought to himself. But, just as the figure was about to approach Hu Qianmei Dong, a muffled sound suddenly came out. Ming Chang's nerves jumped. He opened his eyes wide and looked towards the direction of the sound. He saw a mournful and terrifying hand directly piercing through the figure's chest. The hand was already dyed in blood, and in the palm of his hand was a beating heart. Ming Chong was dumbfounded. Hu Qianmei was also stunned, especially the gray figure, who could not believe his current situation. He lowered his head and discovered that there was a large hole in his chest. His heart was gone, and a hand had pierced through his chest. In fact, with his strength, even if his heart was gone, he would not die so easily. However, the hand that had pierced through his heart suddenly surged with an extremely terrifying suction force. Before he could even react, all of the immortal qi in his body had been sucked clean, leaving not a single one behind. That figure was an immortal, and from the immortal qi that was absorbed from his body, he could determine his identity. The immortal opened his eyes wide. Looking at the place where the hand was extended over, he saw that beside Hu Qianmei, there was an existence that had similarly covered his body. Although the other saw that he had completely disappeared, the other party had moved just now, and he could vaguely see the outline of the other party's body. Someone from the Jingyu Imperial Palace? At this moment, the owner of the hand let out a low shout. You? Who exactly are you? The immortal who had his heart pierced and his immortal qi sucked dry gasped for breath as he asked in a low voice. I can spare your life so that you won't die. But if you want to live, you must tell me everything you know. Do you understand? Su Yin said in a deep voice. Don't even think about it. The immortal bellowed, and then his entire body trembled. His body suddenly split into several pieces and fell to the ground. Su Yin frowned. He stared at the piece of meat on the ground. You would rather commit suicide than say it? The moment the celestial died, Ming Chong was like a statue. He stood rooted to the ground, not moving at all. In fact, all these years, the reason why he was able to smoothly seize the heavenly dragon region, build a country, build an army, and expand to the nearby realms was all because of this immortal. He had always been helping him in the dark, and all the powerful enemies that Ming Chong met were all secretly killed by this immortal. Thus, he did not have any enemies, and with an irresistible force, he took down nearly half of the ultimate martial world. However, such a powerful immortal had died miserably in just a few breaths of time. He looked towards Hu Qianmei and realized that Hu Qianmei was also stunned, but there was nothing beside her. Even the palm that had pierced through the immortal's body had disappeared. There were no traces of magic treasure being used, nor was there any figure. He did not know what method Hu Qianmei had used to instantly kill the immortal. What's going on? What was going on? Who can tell me what happened? Ming Chong suddenly sat on the ground. Looking at the stones, he muttered, This is impossible. How could an immortal die? Furthermore, he killed him in one move. This is impossible. This is definitely impossible. Why is it impossible? A mere immortal is like an ant in my eyes. Just as Ming Chong was about to collapse from this phenomenon, a voice suddenly sounded in his ears. Ming Chong was startled. He anxiously looked around. Who? Don't look any further. I order you to immediately seal all the spirit core in your body, and at the same time, hand over the space bag on your body to Hu Qianmei and surrender to the Beiyang army. If not, this pile of meat will be your fate. The voice came again. Ming Chong hastily scanned his surroundings, but he couldn't find that figure. Who? Who's talking to me? A strong sense of unease wrapped around Ming Chong, and he shouted at the top of his lungs. Who I am is not important. I can tell you now. As long as I am willing, the Feather Emperor Palace will also disappear. Now, I will only give you one chance, and only one. I will not mention it again if you miss it. The voice continued to sound. It was extremely solemn. Surrender to Hu Qianmei and the Beiyang army. I surrender. I surrender. Hearing that, Ming Chong saw that he still had a chance to live, and immediately shouted, I am willing to surrender. Master, don't kill me. Don't kill me. At this moment, his hair was disheveled, and his entire body was covered in injuries. How could he still have the carefree attitude from before? After Ming Chong finished speaking, he immediately sealed his own profound qi, and the qi on his entire body immediately disappeared without a trace. Hu Qianmei also understood Su Yun's meaning. He snorted and immediately walked over, grabbing onto Ming Chang's body and flew into the sky. "Hurry up and give the order." Hu Qianmei fiercely kicked Ming Chang and shouted. Ming Chang was furious, but did not dare say anything. He could only shout, "All the people of Ming Chang's army, listen up. Immediately surrender to the Bei Yang army." He shouted loudly. He did not know how he felt, but without a doubt, Ming Chang's short era had already passed. Chapter 1174. Even an immortal had been killed in a single strike, and all of his immortal treasures had been destroyed. How could Ming Chang dare to continue resisting? He had no idea what kind of terrifying existence he was facing, and his guts had long been broken. Seeing that, Su Yun sealed his own cultivation. Without making a sound, he secretly disappeared. Seeing that, Hu Qianmei immediately rushed forward. Her little feet directly kicked Ming Chang, and the curved blade was placed on his neck. "Ming Chang's men, listen up. Ming Chang is in my hands now. I will give you two choices: either obediently surrender or obediently accept death. You choose for yourself." She activated the profound qi and said these words. Her voice was extremely loud and echoed throughout the battlefield. Seeing that, the surrounding soldiers were all intimidated. Hu Qianmei grabbed onto Ming Chang's clothes with one hand and directly leaped up into the sky. Everyone on the battlefield looked up into the sky, and when they saw this scene, they were all shocked. Even Ming Chang had been captured, so how could they fight against the Bei Yang army with just them? In that moment, the morale of Ming Chang's army plummeted. Many of them were completely intimidated by Hu Qianmei. Charging into the enemy's rear alone, not only was he not harmed in the slightest, he even captured the enemy's commander. How could anyone not be shocked by such a method? In addition to the fact that most of the generals and commanders of Ming Chang's army had been killed, the entire scene had become extremely chaotic. The soldiers had no one to command them, and were like a pot of porridge, so the soldiers at the back had already started to retreat when they saw that the situation was not right. With one person retreating, there was a second, a third, and gradually, more and more people started to flee. Seeing that, Hu Qianmei, who was in the air, was furious and shouted loudly, "Chase after them. Whoever does not surrender, kill them." "Yes, sir," Marshal Ge shouted. He was extremely excited at the moment. He never thought that the president of the Bei Yang Chamber of Commerce would actually be so strong, to even be able to take down Ming Chang. It was simply beyond everyone's expectations. There were rumors outside that the two Chamber of Commerce masters were definitely not Ming Chang's match. But from the looks of it today, the rumors were indeed not credible. "Don't chase after them." Marshal Ge passed down the order. The entire army is to retreat. Just then, Huai Muyu, who was commanding from the back, suddenly spoke up. With that said, Hu Qianmei did not understand. She grabbed onto Ming Chang and anxiously flew towards Huai Muyu. "Muyu, why aren't you chasing?" "There's no need to chase, and there's no need to chase." Huai Muyu looked at Ming Chang, who was like a dead dog beside Hu Qianmei, and said indifferently, "Without Ming Chang, Ming Chang's army is just a pile of loose sand. They will fall apart sooner or later. There is no need for us to attack them. Furthermore, chasing after them will cause us to lose a lot of manpower. How can they not resist? Instead of wasting our energy, wouldn't it be better to let them collapse on their own? Mayor, what we should do now is to immediately organize our army and head towards the Heavenly Dragon region to take over everything in Mingchang. We shouldn't chase after a pile of useless loose sand at this critical juncture." With that said, Hu Qianmei immediately understood what Huairou Muyu meant. If even Mingchang was captured, they believed that no one in the Sky Dragon domain would dare to resist them. And if they were to chase after them now, it would indeed waste a lot of energy. After all, the soldiers would run for their lives. If they were to chase after them, they would definitely fight back with their lives on the line. And if they were to chase after them, they would only surrender or leave the Sky Dragon domain and Ming Chang's army. So it would be easy for Huairou Muyu to take down Ming Chang. Hu Qianmei nodded his head. "In this aspect, I am still inferior to you. Muyu, let's do as you say." "Yes." Huairou Muyu nodded and immediately gave the order to Marshal Ge. "I'll take Ming Chang away first. Hu Qianmei muttered to Huairou Muyu, then leaped up and flew away. Hu Qianmei did not bring Ming Chong back to the center of the Beiyang. Instead, he entered the roaring Tiger City and entered the dungeon alone. She had brought Ming Chong here according to Su Yun's request, because even Su Yun was not sure if there were any spies from the Immortal Court around the battlefield. After entering the dungeon, Hu Qianmei threw Ming Chong into a cold and damp cage, activated the array formation at the side of the cage, and waved all the prison heads away, then carefully asked, "Big brother, is this okay?" "Yes." Su Yun's figure slowly appeared beside Hu Qianmei. Inside the cage, Ming Chong, whose eyes were dim and face was ashen, saw Su Yun, who had mysteriously appeared beside Hu Qianmei, and immediately opened his eyes wide. He shouted weakly, "You! Who are you?" "Heh, he is the true president of our Beiyang Chamber of Commerce," Hu Qianmei said proudly. "The real president?" Ming Chong was startled for a moment, then realized that Hu Qianmei and Huairou Miyu were only vice leaders, and above them, there was actually another person. Thinking about how this guy had instantly killed an immortal, Ming Chang's entire body could not help but tremble. If not for him, Hu Qianmei would not have been able to capture him. Was all of this caused by this man? "You are an immortal? Am I right? You are from the Jingyu Emperor Palace, right?" Su Yun stared at Ming Chong and said indifferently. With that said, Ming Chong turned pale with fright. "Looks like I'm not mistaken," Su Yun said, and immediately walked over to Ming Chong and helped him up. "What are you going to do?" Ming Chang's entire body was trembling, but he was somewhat comforted in his heart. It was likely that the guy in front of him was planning to get something out of his mouth, so he probably wouldn't kill him. But right at this moment, the guy's eyes suddenly flashed with a strange light. Following that, Ming Chang's entire body trembled. He felt as if his soul was being twitched by someone. His entire body felt cold, as if he was being seen through by someone. This feeling lasted for a very short period of time, about 10 breaths of time. Very quickly, the man's eyes returned to normal, and he stood up. However, at this moment, his face was solemn. "What exactly are you guys trying to do?" Ming Chong felt very lost. He could not help but feel afraid. He said nervously, If you want to ask me anything, I can tell you. I just beg you, don't kill me. Don't kill me." Su Yun was about to leave, but upon hearing that, he stopped in his tracks, turned his head slightly, looked at Ming Chong, and said indifferently, "What are you doing in the Jingyu Emperor Palace?" Ming Chang's face was extremely ugly. He was stunned for a moment, and his voice trembled. What are you talking about? I don't understand. What Jingyu Emperor Palace? I don't know." "Kill him." Su Yun immediately turned his head, walked forward, and threw out such a cold sentence. "All right." Hu Qianmei's small mouth raised into a cold smile, and directly walked over with her curved blade. Hearing that, Ming Chong was scared out of his wits. He even shouted at the top of his lungs, "Ah, don't kill me. No, don't." But his shout was useless. Very quickly, after a few crisp sounds, Ming Chang's voice was completely gone. "Big brother, do you want to destroy your soul?" "Yes." A moment later, "All right." Hu Qianmei kept the scimitar that was stained with blood and ran over. The two of them walked out of the dungeon together. "Mayor, what's wrong?" "I'll leave the matters of the Beiyang to you and Muyu. With such a thing happening here, I'm worried that the people from the Immortal Court will come over. Maybe they have already arrived, so it's inconvenient for me to stay here." Su Yun thought for a moment, then said indifferently. Hearing that Su Yun was about to leave, Hu Qianmei's bright eyes immediately dimmed. Her small hands could not help but grab onto Su Yun's clothes. Her pink lips opened, but the words that came out were not to keep him. "Big brother has something important to do after all. It's not appropriate to stay in a small place like the Beiyang. Hee, big brother, just do it. No matter what happens, Mayor will support big brother." "Yes." Su Yun's heart warmed. He patted Hu Qianmei's head and laughed. "If you collect the spirit sword, remember to inform me." "Don't worry." Hu Qianmei obediently nodded her head and asked, "When is big brother leaving?" "Immediately." "So anxious?" Hu Qianmei was not willing. She immediately pulled Su Yun and ran toward the small pavilion at the side. Su Yun was startled, but he quickly understood what the girl meant. Helpless, he could only follow her orders. The matter of the Bei Yang had been mostly resolved, but Su Yun's heart could not calm down. After separating from Hu Qianmei, he immediately headed towards the immortal world. Previously, in the dungeon of the Roaring Tiger City, he had used the great exquisite technique on Ming Chong. He no longer needed to interrogate him. He could directly use the great exquisite technique, and he knew everything in Ming Chang's heart like the back of his hand. This Ming Chong was the person that the Jingyu Imperial Palace had sent to the ultimate martial world to collect resources. Su Yun did not know how capable Lin Yujing was to actually dare to send people to the myriad realms to plunder resources, and even now, he had not been discovered by the Immortal Court. This meant that other than Lin Yujing having someone up there must also be a force from the myriad realms helping him. Back then, when the Immortal Sect was in chaos, the Immortal Court had investigated for a long time without any results, but Su Yun believed that there must be Lin Yujing's shadow in it. It was unknown what the Jingyu Imperial Palace was planning, but ever since that chaos, the Jingyu Imperial Palace had sunk into a deep slumber. The strength of the Immortal Sect had been severely damaged, and many people thought that Lin Yujing was concentrating on cultivation, accumulating his strength, but Su Yun felt more and more uneasy about it. Ming Chong did not know much, but from his fragmented memories, Su Yun could feel that Lin Yujing definitely had a plan. It was just that it was unknown whether or not this plan would involve him. But one thing was certain: if Ming Chong was killed, Lin Yujing would definitely be suspicious of Hu Qianmei and Huairou Muyu. After all, Ming Chong had the help of an immortal, and if Ming Chong was killed, it was certain that Huairou Muyu had the help of an immortal, so Lin Yujing would not give up just like that. He had to get someone to keep an eye on the movements of the ultimate martial world. Su Yun shook his head. It was useless to think about it now. He had to return to the sect first. Chapter 1175. Su Yun's speed was very fast. It only took him a day to enter the immortal world, and he headed straight for the immortal-seeking sect. Along the way, he saw many people from the immortal court. They were on guard every 3 steps, and the entire sky was filled with them. When Su Yun passed by, 2 people from the immortal court immediately stopped him. "Halt!" A shout came out. Su Yun was startled and immediately stopped. "What are you doing?" "A routine inspection. The immortal court has ordered that any immortal will be inspected at any time." The immortal shouted, then ran to Su Yun's side, took out a mirror, and after activating it, he started to shine it. Although the energy that leaked out of the mirror was strong, it could not penetrate Su Yun's body, and it was even more impossible to pry into his background. Su Yun was baffled, as though the people from the immortal court did not find anything wrong. Why would there be a routine inspection? Did something happen? Su Yun asked doubtfully. The immortal court has been attacked by the True Devil Realm's demon army. We suspect that these demon realm people are hiding in our immortal world, so we have to undergo an inspection. The immortal court man said as he looked at Su Yun with a mirror. What? Su Yun was shocked. He stared at the immortal court man with his eyes wide open, not daring to believe what he had heard. Why would the people of the demon realm suddenly attack the immortal court? How would I know? The immortal court man rolled his eyes and snorted. But this time, the nature of the matter is too serious. Not only did the people of the demon realm appear in the immortal world, they even formed an army to attack our immortal court's encampment. This time, they attacked the immortal court's encampment. Who knows if they will destroy the immortal court next time? This matter had already attracted the attention of the immortal court's highest leader, and the immortal court had already entered the highest state of alert. Tomorrow, they will issue an order to gather all the righteous people of the immortal world and prepare to carry out the harshest purge on the demon realm, until the last devil cultivator dies. Exterminate? Su Yun's heart skipped a beat. Then he forced a smile and said, I heard that the devil cultivator have all escaped from the true devil realm. If we were to exterminate them now, how can we find them? I heard they went to the underworld. At this time, the immortal said in a low voice, Underworld? Yes, the immortal court is truly angry this time. Seems like the higher-ups are preparing to go to the underworld to exterminate the devil cultivator. The netherworld should be very powerful, right? Are the lords of the immortal court really going? No matter how powerful the underworld is, can it be as powerful as the immortal court. The man rolled his eyes at Su Yun and said. Su Yun laughed awkwardly and did not say anything. All right, you don't have any problems. Let's go. The guy put away the mirror and said. Oh. Su Yun nodded. Suddenly, he saw an immortal flying away, and the people of the immortal court didn't stop him. He asked, why doesn't he need to be checked? He's been checked once before, and there's nothing wrong with him. Naturally, he doesn't need to be checked again. Do you see the jade-colored tag hanging on his waist? That's proof that you're innocent. Here, you have one too. Take it and hang it on your body. Otherwise, you'll have to be tested along the way. With that, the immortal took out a jade-colored plate from somewhere and handed it over to Su Yun. Su Yun took it and rubbed the jade-colored plate with his fingers for a moment, carefully sizing it up, and discovered that it was a plate that contained a weak energy, and there seemed to be a tiny array formation inside, but he did not know what it was for. All right, let's go. Go back to where you came from. If there's anyone around you who doesn't have this plate, tell them to hurry up and do a check, because even if they don't do it now, they'll have to do it in the future. After the immortal court finished speaking, he urged Su Yun to leave quickly. Su Yun did not want to stay any longer, so he took the order badge and left in a hurry. At this moment, his mind was filled with thousands of questions. The devil army attacked the immortal court? What was going on? He had never given such an order. Why would he attack the immortal court for no reason? Furthermore, with the current strength of the devil cultivator, wasn't attacking the immortal court like hitting a rock with an egg? Who made such a stupid decision? Su Yun became more and more anxious, and his speed towards the immortal seeking sect increased to the limit. When he approached the immortal seeking sect, it was still as peaceful as ever, as though nothing big had happened. But the more it was like this, the more Su Yun felt that something was amiss. The commotion of the immortal court outside was already so big. How could the round demon not react? Restricting the immortal seeking sect's devil cultivator S from going out was the most important thing. His cultivation was strong, so even if he was investigated, the other party would not be able to find anything. But the devil cultivator S in the immortal seeking sect were different. Some of the devil cultivator S had already grown to the spirit profound immortal realm, but many of them were still stuck in the spirit sage realm. Sect leader. When the disciples stationed outside the immortal seeking sect saw the person flying over, they were stunned for a moment, then hurriedly cupped their fists and bowed. Yes. Su Yun nodded. Without saying much, he flew inside. The newly recruited disciples were usually sent to guard the perimeter, and the internal members of the immortal seeking sect were also hidden from them. In order to ensure that the matter of the immortal seeking sect being a devil cultivator sect was not revealed, Su Yun told the round demon to hide a lot of things from the new sect members. After entering the immortal seeking sect, Su Yun immediately headed inside. Before he reached the meeting hall, he saw Xiang Yang walking towards him. Xiang Yang greets master. Xiang Yang bowed to Su Yun respectfully. Yes. Su Yun frowned. He stared at Xiang Yang for a moment, then said, Xiang Yang, immediately gather the round demon, Luo, and Faceless over. I have something to discuss with you all. With that, Su Yun immediately walked into the meeting hall. But Xiang Yang did not immediately go, but hesitated for a moment before cupping his fists and leaving. Su Yun naturally saw Xiang Yang's small movements. His face revealed a trace of doubt, but he did not call out to the immortal seeking sect and walked into the meeting hall alone, quietly waiting. Very quickly, Su Luo, Faceless, Xiang Yang, Zijin, and the rest walked into the meeting hall. Greetings, master. Everyone bowed to Su Yun, and then stood to the left and right. Su Yun nodded his head. He swept his gaze across everyone, and then asked indifferently, Where is Elder Yuan Mo? Upon hearing Su Yun's question, everyone lowered their heads in unison and remained silent. Xiang Yang's face was pale white, Su Luluo was calm, and the rest all had different expressions. Seeing everyone's expressions, Su Yun's heart secretly jumped. He frowned and raised his voice by an octave. Why is no one answering me? Where's Elder Yuan Mo? Everyone remained silent. Seeing that, Su Yun's eyes flashed with anger. Xiangyang was so scared that his entire body was trembling, faceless, and the rest were also afraid, especially Zijin, who was almost unable to stand steadily. But Su Luluo, who was standing there, spoke softly at this time. "Big brother, Elder Yuan Mo, is dead." She said it very softly and slowly, but to Su Yun, this sentence was like a lightning strike. He opened his eyes wide and stared at Su Luluo, his already pale face becoming even paler. "What are you talking about?" he muttered. "Elder Yuan Mo is dead." Su Luluo closed his eyes and repeated the cruel words again. Su Yun could not believe his ears. His hand tightly gripped the armrest of the seat. The armrest had already been crushed into powder. "My lord, please calm your anger." Below, Xiangyang hurriedly said, "What the hell is going on? What exactly happened while I was away?" Su Yun said in a low voice. His voice was like ice falling into an ice cellar. Xiangyang bit his lower lip, wanting to say something, but when the words reached his mouth, he could not say them. "Let me say it." Just then, Su Luluo bowed to Su Yun and spoke slowly. She spoke in detail. Ever since Su Yun left, the Immortal Court had sent investigators into the Immortal-seeking sect to investigate them one by one, to the Immortal-seeking sect's plan to divert the suspects. Su Yun listened quietly. His face was pale white, his expression tensed up, making it impossible to tell what he was thinking. Elder Yuan Mo did not wish for Faceless to be exposed, thus exposing the Immortal-seeking sect, so he chose to commit suicide so that the people of the Immortal Court would not be able to find any clues. Although we wanted to save Elder Yuan Mo, we were unable to do so. "Big brother, I'm sorry, this is all Yulawa's fault. If it wasn't for my lack of consideration, Elder Yuan Mo would not have died," Su Luluo said in a low voice. Su Yun clenched his fists. "Has the Immortal Court already suspected us?" The Immortal Court sent an envoy to find out that the person who plundered the Immortal Pool had fled in the direction of the Immortal-seeking sect, so they sent people to investigate. In order to prevent the Immortal Court from continuing to suspect the Immortal-seeking sect, the young Miss ordered Qin, Qianlong, and the others to feign an attack on the Immortal Court to divert their attention. Zijin said weakly. "Envoy." Su Yun clenched his teeth and said, "So that means I was the one who killed Elder Yuan Mo." "Brother, don't blame yourself. No one wants something like this to happen." Su Luluo comforted her. Su Yun did not say anything. He only lowered his head. No one knew what he was thinking. The meeting hall quietened down, and the atmosphere became extremely solemn. "Does Octagon Aniseed know about this?" After a long while, Su Yun asked. "We have already sent people to the underworld. I believe the True Devil sect should know about it as well." On the way, I found out that the Immortal Court has already begun to form a force to head to the underworld to exterminate the Devil Cultivator. We should quickly inform Octagon Aniseed about this matter and let him make a plan. The Immortal Court knows that the True Devil realm has already entered the underworld, but they still dare to head towards the underworld. It can be seen that the Immortal Court is confident in eradicating the True Devil realm. We do not know much about the underworld, and do not know if the underworld can defeat the Immortal Court, and even if they can, will they become enemies with the Immortal Court for the sake of the Devil Cultivator? "I don't know about all of this," Su Luluo said softly. Su Yun took a deep breath, slowly stood up, and said solemnly, "Since Elder Yuan Mo is dead, then I do not want him to die in vain. If the Immortal Court wants to exterminate the Devil Cultivator, we cannot remain indifferent." Chapter 1176. As the law of the immortal world, the Immortal Court had always been the embodiment of justice. Su Yun did not know what the people of the Devil Realm had done wrong, and why the Immortal Court wanted to eradicate the people of the Devil Realm time and time again. He had led the Yuan Demon and the others into the immortal world for the sake of survival. But the Immortal Court was too aggressive. He understood that he could no longer remain silent. After Qin, Qianlong, and the rest feigned an attack, they retreated from the Immortal Court in time and did not leave anything for the Immortal Court. However, this kind of feigned attack could not be hidden from everyone, and there were still people who would have thoughts of it because Qin, Qianlong, and the rest had not fought with the main forces of the Immortal Court. Furthermore, when they were investigating the immortal-seeking sect, the devil cultivator came. How could they not be suspicious? The immortal court also had an existence that could pry into the past and the future. Su Yun could not guarantee that the immortal court would not find out about the immortal-seeking sect in the future. Brother, what do you plan to do? If we fight against the immortal court now, we will be hitting a rock with an egg. We have no chance of winning. Hearing Su Yun's words, Su Luluo immediately said, now that things have come to this, we have no other way out. Su Yun said in a deep voice, although you guys have concealed it, it is only a matter of time before the immortal-seeking sect is exposed. Big Brother plans to give up on the immortal-seeking sect? The Eight Harmonies sect and the Great Linglong Palace are not involved with the immortal-seeking sect yet, but the Hidden Dragon Hall and the Carefree Palace are nominally allies of the immortal-seeking sect. If I were to give up on the immortal-seeking sect, then I would have to give up on 3 sects at the same time. Su Yun started to think. If that's the case, then wouldn't all our years of hard work have been in vain? Xiang Yang muttered. It wasn't easy for us to establish such a power. Although we can't fight against the immortal court, we can still fight against any of the super immortal sections. Once we lose these 3 sects, we will have to start all over again. I know you guys can't bear to part with it. In fact, I can't bear to part with it either. Su Yun took a deep breath and said softly, but no matter what we do, the immortal court can use the envoy to capture our movements. This time, Qin Qianlong and the rest did not leave any traces when they pretended to attack, and once they left any traces, even they would be exposed. As long as the immortal court has people like the envoy, we will always be in a passive position. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone's expression turned serious. Big Brother, if we send someone to assassinate the immortal court's envoy, then wouldn't we have the initiative? At this time, Su Luluo spoke up. Assassination? This was an extremely bold statement. The immortal court is heavily guarded. It's impossible to kill someone inside, said Faceless, who had been silent all this while. That's right. I'm afraid it's already extremely difficult to sneak in. It's simply unrealistic to assassinate them. Xiang Yang also shook his head. No, there's still a chance. Just then, Su Yun suddenly spoke. Everyone was stunned and looked at him in unison. Su Yun rubbed his chin and thought for a moment, then said indifferently, isn't the immortal court organizing people to go to the underworld to fight against the devil cultivator? If that's the case, there should be some gaps in the defenses of the celestial court. Perhaps we can take this opportunity to sneak into the celestial court and assassinate the minister envoy. Hearing this, everyone started to ponder. After a long while, Su Luluo nodded his head. Maybe it will work. Zijin, do you know how many ministers' envoys there are in the immortal court? Su Yun turned and asked Zijin. Zijin had communicated with Xiao Chua and started to gather information about the immortal court. After all, the biggest threat to Su Yun was the immortal court. As far as I know, there should be 15 of them, but this is only on the surface. Zijin does not know if there are any higher-level envoys. How many envoys like Yuan Tianya who occasionally go out to carry out missions? These 15 will all go out to carry out missions, but the envoys will rarely receive missions that leave the immortal court. Zijin said. Su Yun frowned. I need a complete report of the number of people. During this period of time, I need to think of a way to find out how many envoys there are in the immortal court. I will temporarily include these 15 people on the list, and when the time is right, I will immediately take action. If we kill these 15 people now, I'm afraid it will arouse the suspicion of the immortal court. If the immortal court has a higher level envoy, they will definitely protect them even more strictly. So, when we find out whether or not the higher level envoys exist and where they are, we will take action together. These envoys cannot have died for more than 10 days, otherwise we will not have any chance. Big Brother, don't worry, I will get Xiao Chua to investigate. Su Luluo said, then turned and left. Xiang Yang, immediately send people to transfer all the Devil Cultivator S out of the Immortal Seeking sect and temporarily arrange for them to stay in the ultimate martial world. Are we going to transfer them now? Xiang Yang was startled. If so many people from our sect suddenly leave, I'm afraid it will arouse the suspicions of the people around us. Don't worry, I will borrow a group of people to fill their positions. Su Yin said indifferently. If he wanted to find someone, there were a lot of people on Bei Yang's side. It would not be difficult to change all the devil cultivator-s of the immortal-seeking sect. As long as the devil cultivator-s of the immortal-seeking sect were fine, even if the people of the immortal court investigated, there was no need to panic. However, as long as the envoy did not die, Su Yun would never be able to make a move. All right, Xiang Yang nodded, cupped his fists, and said, then this subordinate will do it now. Yes. After Xiang Yang and Su Luluo left, Zi Jin reported to Su Yun about the recent movements of the immortal court, and then immediately retreated, leaving only Faceless alone in the meeting room. Su Yun took a deep breath, his gaze shifted, and looked at the large sword sheath beside him. Qing was still in the sword sheath, and had yet to make any movements. Master, actually, there's no need to transfer manpower from the ultimate martial world. If Master is willing, this subordinate's former subordinates can actually fill in the immortal-seeking sect and replace that group of devil cultivator. Just then, Faceless suddenly said. Su Yun frowned. He raised his eyes and stared at Faceless, then shook his head. If you have fewer people, won't the immortal court investigate their whereabouts? The current immortal world is already extremely sensitive. Any slight movement will attract the attention of the immortal court. Faceless, you will be in charge of this mission. When Zijin sends news, I hope to take care of those envoys in the shortest amount of time possible. Master, please forgive this subordinate for being incompetent. If it's those 15 envoys, this subordinate has the confidence to take care of them. But if there are even higher-level envoys and they are in the immortal court, I'm afraid this subordinate will be powerless. Faceless cupped his fists and said, if the matter was exposed, it was not a matter of death, but a matter of exposure. Faceless' heart was controlled by Su Yun, so he naturally did not dare to have any other thoughts. Su Yun understood Faceless' worries, and said indifferently, you don't have to worry. If there are higher-level envoys in the immortal court, you don't have to do anything. Then who should take care of it? Me? Su Yun said indifferently. Inside the Jingyu Palace. As usual, Lin Yujing was meditating in the alchemy room. The furnace was burning red from the fire, and the temperature in the room was thousands of degrees. However, he was sitting there as if nothing had happened, not feeling the slightest bit of discomfort. Just then, light footsteps came from outside, followed by a female voice. Kai Lu greets Sect Leader. Sect Leader, Kai Lu has something important to report. It's Elder Kai Lu, come in and talk. Lin Yujing said indifferently. Creak. The door was pushed open, and a lady dressed in flowery clothes walked in and bowed respectfully to Lin Yujing. What is it? Lin Yujing continued to meditate with his eyes closed, but he spoke. Reporting to Sect Leader, Ming Chong is dead. The elder called Kai Lu said. With that said, Lin Yujing's eyebrows twitched a few times, but his face did not change much. How did he die? It is said that he was killed by the vice president of Beiyang Commerce, Hu Qianmei. Where's Ah Kong? He's dead too, Kai Lu said. Hearing this, Lin Yujing could not hold it in anymore. He suddenly opened his eyes, turned his head and stared at Kai Lu, and said, Ah Kong is also dead? Yes. Kai Lu nodded. Lin Yujing stared at the pill furnace, as if he was thinking about something. Ah Kong is my disciple. He has the cultivation of the third stage of the spirit profound immortal realm. I am very clear about his strength. Ordinary immortals are not his match. Even if it is an existence stronger than him, it would not be so easy to kill him. Unless it is an existence stronger than him by 2 stages, then he would not even have the chance to escape. But why would a 5th stage spirit profound immortal suddenly appear in the ultimate martial world? Kai Lu was puzzled. If a 5th stage spirit profound immortal were to casually enter the ultimate martial world, it would be extremely easy to be discovered by the immortal court. Could it be that Ah Kong's death is related to the immortal court? In that case, Beiyang Commerce is related to the immortal court? Lin Yujing shook his head and said indifferently, The immortal court is rich and overbearing. There are no other powers in the myriad worlds, and Baiyang commerce will definitely not climb up to the immortal court. So the person who killed Ah Kong should not be from the immortal court. Then who could it be? You have to ask the vice president of Baiyang commerce. Lin Yujing said indifferently. Kai Lu was silent for a moment, then nodded. Sect leader, I know what to do. All right. You said that this Hu Qianmei is the vice president of Baiyang commerce. Then who is the president? At this time, Lin Yujing seemed to have thought of something and immediately asked. However, when he asked this question, Kai Lu was startled for a moment, then shook his head. I have already sent people to investigate, but there are no results. Who is this Zheng Hui? It seems to be deliberately kept a secret without reading minds. It is difficult to find out. I believe that other than Hu Qianmei and Huai Romu Yu, no one else knows. Perhaps Ah Kong's death is related to this Zheng Hui. Send someone to investigate. If you can easily kill Ah Kong, then it is most likely someone from the immortal world. You must investigate clearly. Do not let others take the initiative. Yes, sect leader. Chapter 1177. With Ming Chong eliminated, Hu Qianmei smoothly took over the heavenly dragon domain and the realm that Ming Chong conquered. To be able to eliminate Ming Chong, Hu Qianmei and Huairou Mu, you had already proven their strength to the people of the ultimate martial world. Who would dare to object? After obtaining the resources of the heavenly dragon domain and the nearby realms, Baiyang commerce's strength was already unprecedentedly strong. Although they could not even compare to an immortal sect in the immortal world, but with half of the ultimate martial world under their control, it was too easy for them to obtain resources to supply Su Yun. It had to be known that many of the resources in the immortal world were already controlled by the immortal court, so it was extremely difficult to mine new resources or get a share of the resources in their hands. But it was different now. The ultimate martial world, this huge realm, had provided Su Yun with too many things. Even the immortal court could not compare to it. Although they were not as strong as the immortal sects, their wealth surpassed many of the immortal sections. When Su Yun learned that Huairou Mu Yu had expanded the Chamber of Commerce to the nearby realm, he immediately ordered Xiang Yang to arrange a few reliable people to enter the ultimate martial world and secretly observe the movements of Baiyang. He could not guarantee that Lin Yujing would not take action. He needed to pay attention to the Baiyang, but he needed to pay more attention to the immortal court. Su Yun never thought that after he left for a while, such a thing would actually happen. With the death of the Round Demon, he did not know how to explain it to Octagon Aniseed. If not for the Round Demon, Su Yun would not have achieved what he had today. Thinking back to the days when he was in the True Devil sect, Su Yun could not help but clench his fists. He sat in the discussion hall for an entire day. He did not cultivate, nor did he look for anyone to discuss, until the second day, when Ling Qing you could not help but fly out from the sword sheath and stood in front of him. What are you thinking about? The road ahead. Back then, you said that as long as you found Qing you would bring the people you care about and leave this place. But now I have no choice. I cannot abandon the True Devil sect and leave. If not for the True Devil sect, Su Yun, would have died a long time ago, and I am afraid Qing would not have been saved so easily. Other than that, there is also the sword ancestor, and this sword sheath must have enough spirit swords to suppress it. If not, when the evil sword appears, the 10,000 worlds will definitely be destroyed. I didn't expect you to be so righteous. This is my responsibility. I'm not a saint. You look like a saint to me now. Ling Qing Yu chuckled and sat on a chair at the side. Su Yun glanced at her and asked, How's Qing? It's still the same. Ling Qing Yu shook her head. In the end, she is the reincarnation of an almighty being. The water of the immortal pool should have stimulated the power in her soul, causing her to need to sleep for a long time, to allow this power to slowly awaken. As for when she will wake up, no one knows. If Qing Air successfully transforms this time, what realm would her strength increase to? She should be even stronger than before she reincarnated. Ling Qing, you took a deep breath. But in this period of time, you have to be careful. Do not let her be in danger and safely pass through the transformation period. If she can successfully transform, I believe it will be of great help to you. I don't want her to be able to help me. I just want her to be safe and sound. Su Yin shook his head. Ling Qingyu looked at him silently for a while, then laughed bitterly. You always think for others, but have you never considered their feelings? Do you think it's enough to keep the people around you safe? Don't you know that the people around you also want you to be safe and sound? They also want to use their power to protect you. Do you know that? Hearing that, Su Yun was startled. He remained silent, and no one could guess what he was thinking. Ling Qingyu sighed slightly and said, You are constantly becoming stronger because of your opportunities, luck, and hard work. The difference in strength between you and the people around you is getting bigger and bigger. But you have to know, the people around you are also working hard. They also have dreams. They have goals. You don't have to help them complete their dreams. If not, you will deny their meaning. Do you understand? With that, Ling Qingyu did not emphasize anything else. He immediately turned and leaped, transforming into a ray of light, and entered the sword sheath. Su Yun sat there quietly, thinking about Ling Qingyu's words. Actually, what Ling Qingyu said sometimes was extremely important to him, although she was stored in the sword sheath. But for some reason, Su Yun realized that she could see things more clearly than him. Was it because she was a bystander? Su Yun sat there for another 2 days. In these 2 days, unexpectedly, no one came to bother him. On the 3rd day, Su Luluo returned. It has been confirmed. The Immortal Court will directly head towards the underworld after all the sects have gathered. It is said that half of the envoys below the 3rd level of the Immortal Court will participate in this operation, and the leaders will be 2-staged, 2 profound envoys. When Su Luluo entered the house, he did not even have the time to bow and immediately spoke. Since so much power, Su Yun frowned. Seems like the Immortal Court is determined to eradicate the Devil Cultivator this time. After all, they have fought their way to the entrance of the Immortal Court. If they do not take action, I am afraid that the entire Myriad Heavens realm and the entire immortal world will laugh at them. How will they restrain the immortals in the future? That's true. How many immortal sects have responded to the Immortal Court this time? There are more than 50. More than 50? Su Yin was shocked. So many. Yes. Su Luluo nodded his head. And this time, the Immortal Court did not limit the number of people. Seeing that the Immortal Court had also brought out so much power, these sects did not have any misgivings and sent out half of their forces. Of course, their goal was also to reap benefits. This time, they're going to the underworld. The underworld should be much stronger than we imagined. What benefits can they get? I don't know about this. Su Yin lowered his head and thought. After a while, he asked, How many people have gathered at the Immortal Court? About 30 sections. According to the reports, the number of immortals gathered outside the Immortal Court, excluding the ones from the Immortal Court itself, had already exceeded 1 million. Luluo reckons that if we add in the immortals that arrived later on and the power of the Immortal Court itself, the number of immortals should exceed 5 million. 5 million, and most of them are experts. This kind of lineup is completely enough to eradicate all the power of the immortal sects in my hands. Su Yin clenched his fists, his eyebrows furrowed as he thought. Big brother, shouldn't we take action? Action? How should we act? Should we bring our men to fight them head on? Our people are not their match at all, and the result of fighting will only expose our existence, unless you have the confidence to exterminate them all. Su Luluo did not say a word, and bit his lips. At this time, we should not move. Su Yun rubbed his chin and said, Let's think of a way to deal with the envoy first. I estimate that the Immortal Court will need at least a month to leave for the underworld, and the existence of the envoy will make us hesitate in any action we take against the Immortal Court, and we will not be able to take the initiative. But Xiao Chua's position in the Immortal Court is simply too low, and she is unable to provide us with more comprehensive information. So we must think of a way to raise her position in the Immortal Court. Xiao Chua is just a spirit-seeking envoy. If a spirit-seeking envoy wants to be promoted, he must have outstanding contributions in the area of spirit-seeking. For example, find a spirit mine with abundant resources. Then arrange for a spirit mine's resources to be found by Xiao Chua. This shouldn't be difficult for us. Yes. In addition, remove the current Minister of Resources. Su Yun's eyes flashed with a cold light. Faceless should be able to do this job. If Xiao Chua is able to advance to the 5th stage, then we can arrange for more people to enter the Immortal Court. This will be a long battle. Let's wait and see. Yes. Beiyang, Huairou Chamber of Commerce Headquarters. A group of luxuriously dressed spirit cultivator lined up on both sides, like courtiers, and walked towards the gigantic palace in the center. This was Huairou Muyu's meeting hall. The building was newly built this year. Huairou Muyu was not willing to waste it, but Hu Qianmei strongly requested for a new meeting hall. After all, they did not lack money the least. At the moment, Huairou Muyu was already waiting in the meeting hall. As usual, Hu Qianmei was hiding and cultivating. She was the most unwilling to participate in such a meeting. These luxuriously dressed spirit cultivators were the people in charge of Huairou Muyu's Chamber of Commerce branch in various regions. They would come every 3 months to report on their work. The people who came in reported their work one by one. Huairou Muyu listened attentively. She had always been very careful. Perhaps she did not have any talent in cultivation, but her talent in business was unparalleled. The current Beiyang Chamber of Commerce could be called an empire, and the newly merged Sky Dragon Domain and other realms had also begun to implement the Beiyang Chamber of Commerce's operation model. In order to prevent people like Ming Chong from appearing again, Huairou Muyu specially asked Hu Qianmei to be in charge of building a Chamber of Commerce army to defend against external forces. Although Hu Qianmei was not interested in it, Huairou Muyu was still worried. The report lasted for an entire day, but Huairou Muyu did not feel tired. She was still in high spirits and listened attentively, which made the people below admire her. In the future, please work harder. The development of the Chamber of Commerce cannot be separated from everyone. If there is nothing else, this meeting will end here. After the last person in charge finished his report, Huairou Muyu stood up and said, Muyu has already prepared some good banquets for everyone to recuperate. I have prepared some wine. Everyone can go back after you finish eating. When the people in charge heard this, they immediately bowed and said, Thank you, President. Everyone dispersed one by one. And when the last person left the meeting hall, Huairou Muyu let out a long sigh and sat on a chair. She looked at the golden ceiling and was lost in thought. No one knew what she was thinking, but her pretty and sweet face was expressionless. Just then, a weird little head popped out from outside the door, and a petite figure took advantage of Huairou Muyu's inattention and tiptoed in. Qin, what's the matter? Just as the figure walked in, Huairou Muyu immediately spoke. Chapter 1178. The little girl called Qin was Huairou Muyu's cousin, Huairou Hanqin. Hearing her cousin's words, Huairou Hanqin immediately pouted, her face full of unhappiness. Big sister is bullying me for being weak. I did not use spirit qi. You are right in front of me. How can I not see you? Huairou Muyu shook her head. Why are you here? Are you not training properly? Are you being lazy? Big sister, training every day is very annoying. Huairou Hanqin's face was full of unhappiness. She walked to the chair at the side and sat down. But if you don't train, how can you survive in this cruel world? Qin, you are still young. You do not understand the dangers of the world. Cultivation will always be your life insurance. You must remember this. But Sai, big sister, I can't win against you. Huairou Hanqin surrendered. Huairou Muyu shook her head, her eyes filled with doting. She walked over and raised her finger, causing a sparkling and resplendent card to appear in her hand. Are you out of money again? Take it, save some money this time. Huairou Muyu said gently. Hee, big sister knows me the best. Huairou Hanqin immediately beamed with joy and immediately took the card. If you use cultivation coins to train, Big sister will give you as much as you want, but you use it all day to buy all sorts of strange things. I wonder if you've been cheated by others. Since big sister is rich, I am not afraid. Your big sister is also working for others. How can I be considered rich? Working for others? Huairou Hanqin was startled and asked, Who? The president of this organization. Isn't the president big sister? Your big sister is just a vice president. I work for others. There's actually such a thing. Huairou Hanqin obviously did not understand. Huai Romu Yu shook her head. She could not be bothered to explain, and said, "Since you are here, then follow Big Sister out for a walk. It has been a long time since I went out to relax." "Yes." Huai Rohan Chi nodded her head. She pulled Huai Romu Yu's hand and walked out. But before Huai Romu Yu walked out of the palace, a servant anxiously ran over and bowed to Huai Romu Yu. "Reporting to President, there is someone outside requesting an audience." "Oh, I don't know. He only said that he was someone from the Jingyu Imperial Palace." The attendant said. "Jingyu Emperor Palace?" Huai Romu Yu's face changed. Before Su Yin left, he had told her that Ming Chong might be from the celestial sect of the celestial world, and told her to be careful. Huai Romu Yu did not mind, although the ultimate martial world and the celestial world did not interact much. But she understood a few things about the celestial world from Su Yun. The immortals of the celestial world could not do whatever they wanted. After all, there were restrictions from the celestial court. Although the Jingyu Emperor Palace was strong, in front of the immortal court, they were just ants and did not dare to go against their will. So how could they dare to be impudent in the ultimate martial world? But Huai Romu Yu never thought that the people from Jingyu Emperor Palace would actually come here, and even request to see her. If the people from Jingyu Emperor Palace came, wouldn't that mean then a mortal wanted to see him? Huai Romu Yu frowned. After thinking for a moment, she said softly, "Bring him to me." "Yes, guild leader." After the attendant finished speaking, he turned and left. Huai Rohan Shin, who was at the side, was confused. She did not understand what Huai Romu Yu was talking about, and asked innocently, "Sister, what's wrong? Who's here?" "Oh, it's nothing. It's just that a business person came over." Shin, maybe Big Sister doesn't have time to play with you now. Big Sister still has some matters to attend to. Go play with cousin brother. Huai Rohan Shin's face was filled with unwillingness as she left the meeting hall dejectedly. Very quickly, a servant brought a man dressed in white with a sword in his hand and walked in. The man was extremely handsome. His figure was tall and broad, his eyebrows like swords and eyes like stars. His face looked as though it was carved by blades and axes. His entire body was brimming with yang qi, and he was extremely handsome. No matter which girl saw such a man, their heart would palpitate with excitement. And what was even more eye-catching was his temperament. He was dressed in white. His long hair was tied up by a snow-white hairband. He was elegant and refined. He was extremely natural. The man walked in with a smile on his face. When he saw Huai Romu Yu, a light flashed past his eyes. He walked into the hall and cupped his fist to greet. He laughed. "Li Zizai greets Guild Leader Huai Ro. Guild Leader Huai Ro is truly, as the rumors say, you are elegant and refined. Your style is peerless. Even fairies are unable to compare to you." His voice was extremely magnetic, and when it came out, it actually caused people to feel a bone-numbing feeling. Huai Romu Yu frowned again, but her voice became indifferent. "Sire is overpraising me. I am not praising you, but merely stating the truth." "Sire, did you come here to praise Mu Yu?" Huai Romu Yu shook her head. She maintained her indifferent attitude. "Sire is from the Jingyu Emperor Palace. You are an immortal. For an immortal to come to my small place, it should be more than this, right?" Hee. Guild Leader Huai Ro truly understands. Even though you know I am an immortal, your expression did not change. Powerful, powerful. The difference between immortals and mortals is nothing more than the difference in cultivation, the difference in mental state. In the end, weren't immortals also mortals in the past? That's true. I was too mindful of it. The man laughed, but did not show any awkwardness. He continued, "I am here because I have something to discuss with Guild Leader Huai Ro." "What do you want to discuss?" "Ming Chang's matter." The man called Li Zai directly said. Huai Romu Yu obviously knew the reason why he was here, and was not surprised. She asked, "Are you here to seek justice for Ming Chong?" "Ming Chong is useless. If he is dead, then he is dead. Why seek justice for him?" Li Zizai laughed. "When I entered the door, young Miss did not ask which sect the Jingyu Emperor Palace was, but directly invited me in, and after I entered, young Miss did not ask me from this. It can be seen that young Miss knows that Ming Chong is from the Jingyu Emperor Palace. I do not know what method young Miss used to obtain this information from Ming Chong, but I know Young Miss must have connections with the people of the immortal world, right? Connections are connections, but Ming Chong died in my hands. Not because of the interference of the immortals. Even if your immortal world's so-called immortal court comes to investigate, this is the only result. But your Jingyu Emperor Palace is different. Ming Chong is from your Jingyu Emperor Palace, and you even sent an immortal to interfere in the matters of the ultimate martial world. According to the rules set by the immortal court, you have already violated the rules if you want to fight. I think the ones who will suffer in the end will be you. I understand. Young Miss does not need to explain. Ming Chang's death is naturally not the interference of the immortals, but young Miss, even if our Jingyu Emperor Palace cannot pursue the matter of Ming Chang's death because of the immortal court, shouldn't you give us an explanation? After all, our people died in your hands. Even if we don't settle it openly, shouldn't we settle this matter in private? Li Zizai laughed. His face was harmless. Did you come here for this? Does young Miss think that I have other motives? Since that's the case, then what does your Jingyu Emperor Palace want us to do? Huairomu, you said unhurriedly. Since this was the ultimate martial world and was under the protection of the immortal court, she did not believe that the Jingyu Emperor Palace would dare to make a move here. Li Zizai was not in a hurry to answer, but walked around the discussion hall, his gaze sweeping across the dazzling decorations. And after a while, his gaze returned to Huairomu and laughed. Huairo Chamber of Commerce is currently like the sun in the sky. The power in young Mrs. hands is already known as the #1 power in the ultimate martial world. The resources in your hands are shockingly huge, but a portion of them are plundered from Ming Chong, young Miss Huairo. Actually, the reason why our Jingyu Emperor Palace sent Ming Chong to the ultimate martial world is very simple. We only hope that he can establish a foundation here, gather the resources here, and provide them to the Jingyu Emperor Palace. That's all. If young Miss is willing to give a portion of the resources in your hands to us, then not only will we not pursue this matter, we will also provide protection to your Beiyang Chamber of Commerce. What do you think? How much do you want? Of course it's half. No. Huairomu rejected without hesitation. I can only give you 10%. At least 40%. 10%. 30%. 10%. Seems like young Miss does not have the sincerity to negotiate with our Jingyu Emperor Palace. Li Zizai laughed. There was no anger on his face. If I do not have sincerity, I am afraid you will not even be able to see me. Hee, I will definitely be able to see you. It's just that I will not walk in like this. Young Miss, is there no room for discussion? In truth, I cannot make the decision. The 10% is the result of my consideration. As for how much, it will depend on the president's decision. Huairomu said indifferently. Could it be that young Miss Huairo is working for someone else? Yes. Immortals? No. Huairomu replied straightforwardly. This was out of Li Zizai's expectations. Although Huairomu said that she was the one who killed Ming Chong, neither Huairomu nor Li Zizai believed her. Maybe Ming Chong could have been killed by Huairomu, but what about the immortals by Ming Chang's side? An immortal was an invincible existence in the ultimate martial world. How could he die so easily? He was startled for a moment, then laughed. How long do you need? It will probably take some time if you're in a hurry. Haha, I'm not in a hurry. If young Miss Huairo does not mind, I will stay in the organization for the time being. I will wait for news. No rush, no rush. Li Zizai laughed. With that said, Huairomu frowned, but she could not reject him. She took a deep breath and shouted, Men, arrange a place for young Master Li to stay. Bring him to rest. Yes, President. Immediately, a servant walked in and led Li Zizai away. Chapter 1179. Oh, Jingyu Imperial Palace sent people to Beiyang? Inside the immortal seeking sex meeting room, Su Yin looked at Su Luluo, who had come to report in shock. Yes, but only one person was sent. He went alone to discuss with Huairomu, hoping to get Huairomu to give a portion of the resources she currently occupies to Jingyu Imperial Palace regarding Ming Chang's matter. How much does he want? 30%. That person promised that if possible, Jingyu Imperial Palace will provide protection to Huairomu. The two families will work together and divide up the ultimate martial world. Su Luluo said. Hearing that, Su Yun frowned and thought. Is Lin Yujing so lacking in resources to develop? As far as I know, the spirit mine outside Jingyu Imperial Palace is enough for them to develop. Although they have experienced so many twists and turns, and Jingyu Imperial Palace's strength has been greatly damaged, but this has not harmed their muscles and bones. Why would he place his attention on the ultimate martial world? I also feel that it's very strange. Su Luluo thought for a while, then said, if it was half of the ultimate martial world's resources, that would make sense, but Lin Yujing's request was only for Huairou Muyu to occupy 30% of the resources. He only wants this 30%? If that's the case, then there's no need at all. Spending some manpower and time to go to the immortal world to find and mine new mines is much better than this. Why would he do this? Has there been any news from Jingyu Imperial Palace's spies? During this period of time, Lin Yujing has been in closed-door cultivation, and the people of Jingyu Imperial Palace rarely leave the sect. It is very peaceful, and even a portion of the spies that the immortal court has planted in them have been taken away. It seems like they plan to quietly develop during this period of time. Lin Yujing is not that kind of person. Su Yun exhaled and said indifferently, right now, we still need to deal with the immortal court's actions. Jingyu Imperial Palace is indeed not a good enemy. Pass the order to Huairou Muyu. Give Jingyu Imperial Palace 20%, but only 20% of the resources of the Beiyang region. Nothing else will be given. Even if they occupy the resources of the new realm, they will not be given a share. If they agree, then forget it. If they do not, then let them scram. Yes, brother. Su Luluo nodded and left. Amongst these sects, the Feather Emperor Palace was not the strongest, but he was the most mysterious. What Su Yun cared about the most was Lin Yujing. He had yet to see through him, but he was sure that there was a mysterious power behind him. Su Yun was not afraid of Lin Yujing. It was just that he did not know anything about this power, so it was better not to provoke them for the time being. Just then, the sound of hurried footsteps came from outside. Su Yun looked over and saw Xiang Yang rushing in. My lord. Xiang Yang, what's the matter? It's urgent, my lord. Seeing the anxious look on Xiang Yang's face, he took out a letter from the space bag and handed it over to Su Yun. Su Yun frowned. With a grab of his hand, the letter flew into his palm. My lord, this is a letter from the immortal courts. Xiaoling said that this letter is the key to the prime minister's mission. Really? Su Yun stared at the letter, feeling suspicious. He opened it, only to see that there were only 9 words written on the letter. Zhan Zuyang, 7 days later, went Tai City. Zhan Zuyang, went Tai City? Su Yun was startled. He stared at Xiang Yang and said, Xiang Yang, do you know who Zhan Zuyang is? Zhan Zuyang? This subordinate has heard of him. He seems to be the Minister of Revenue of the Immortal Court, a rank 4 envoy. All the positions in the Immortal Court are managed by him. Xiang Yang said. With that said, Su Yun immediately revealed a look of understanding. So that's how it is. Master, what's wrong? Xiang Yang was confused, but Su Yun did not have time to explain. He stood up and said, where did Faceless go first? He's still waiting for orders in the sect. Let him prepare. We will head to Wentai City now. Xiang Yang did not understand what was going on with Su Yun, but he could not ask, so he cupped his fists and said, yes. Xiang Yang retreated to prepare, and Su Yun immediately moved. Not long after, Faceless came over to report. He did not explain to Faceless, and directly led his men out of the sect. Wentai City was a free immortal city that did not belong to any immortal sect. It was huge and had no city lord, but it was also restricted by the immortal court. So it was not chaotic. The immortal court had sent a team to guard the city, but the so-called guards were just for show. The immortals in the city were still very free. Wentai City was extremely far from the immortal-seeking sect. The two of them moved at full speed and spent a full 5 days to reach Wentai City. There was no need to enter the city. Because of the freedom here, many rogue immortals started to do business here. The frequent flow of goods also attracted a large number of immortals. Just as the two of them approached the city, they could see immortals coming and going. It was very lively. Why would a rank 4 emissary of the immortal court come all the way here for no reason? Su Yun stared at the city gate, his heart filled with suspicions. Because the mission was a confidential mission, Xiao Chua did not receive much information. Su Luo had already arranged a spirit mine for Xiao Chua to explore. Chen Xinqing of the resources department was already dead. Xiao Chua could use this opportunity to take over. Master, what should we do now? Let's enter the city first. What is this? Su Yun stared at the stone, but could not feel the slightest bit of energy inside, and immediately asked, "This is an incredible thing. I wonder if you have heard of the story of Nuwa mending the heavens?" Nuwa mending the heavens? I've heard of it, but isn't that a story made up by the mortal realm? What kind of story is that? It's true. The big dog's mouth that was full of yellow teeth started to spit out saliva. Legend has it that the water god Gong Gong and the fire god Zhu Rong had a shocking battle, and even the sky was broken. In order to save the myriad realms, the girl used the five-color divine stone to mend the heavens. But the sky was mended, but there was a piece of five-color divine stone left behind. Hee, that's right. It's this one. Aren't you lying to me? I already said it's a five-color divine stone. Your stone has no color. How can it be a five-color divine stone? Without waiting for Su Yun to speak, Faceless could not help but speak up. AI, what you said is wrong. The big dog was unhappy and immediately raised the stone high into the sky. A ray of light shone down and struck the stone, causing it to immediately glow. Do you see that? It's so colorful, so beautiful. Then isn't this a seven-color divine stone? Seven-color divine stone? The other two are for you. I won't charge any additional fees. The big dog did not know how to explain, so it could only casually answer. Do you think we're all idiots? Seeing that, Su Yin shook his head and turned to leave. If he could not tell that the big dog was fooling him, then Su Yin would have lived all these years in vain. AI, guess don't go. I still have other treasures here. Don't you want to take a look? AI, guess don't go. Don't go. Seeing that Su Yun was about to leave, the big dog became anxious. With four legs on the ground, it ran in front of Su Yun and stopped him. If you continue to use those broken stones to scare people, then we have nothing to talk about. Su Yun said indifferently. The big dog laughed awkwardly, obviously understanding that its little trick had been seen through, but its skin seemed to be thicker than Su Yun's, and said, "Guest, since you don't want the stone, how about the weapon? I have an immortal sword with spiritual intelligence here. It was forged by the ancient supreme expert. It's definitely powerful. How about it? Are you interested? An immortal sword with spiritual intelligence?" Hearing that, Su Yun frowned. Could it be a spirit sword? Chapter 1180. Oh, immortal sword? I just so happen to lack a suitable weapon. If you take out a good one, we can make a deal. Su Yun raised his eyebrows and said indifferently. Hearing that, the big dog immediately became spirited and immediately pulled Su Yun back to its stall. While flattering Su Yun, it took out a green sword with a scabbard from its space bag that seemed to be hanging on its abdomen. The sword seemed to be wrapped in a layer of green oil. Although there was no light leaking out, it was extremely eye-catching. The surface of the sword's scabbard seemed to be covered by an eagle pattern. The eagle spread its wings, and the wings extended from the middle of the sword's scabbard to the tail, and the sword hilt was also very interesting. It was wrapped in two eagle claws, looking extremely sinister. The big dog somewhat clumsily pulled out the sword, and with a clanging sound, a green light flashed, and a bright green immortal sword appeared in front of Su Yun. Su Yun stared at the sword, quietly looking at it. Although compared to the other immortal swords, the appearance of the sword was not considered outstanding, but the moment the sword left the sword scabbard, Su Yun vaguely caught a trace of a strange spirit. This seemed to be an immortal sword with a spirit. How is it? Dear customer, this sword is not bad, right? Seeing that Su Yun was lost in thought, the big dog immediately said, "It's just SOSO." Su Yun said indifferently, "Still SOSO?" The big dog opened its eyes wide and hurriedly said, "It is said that this is the sword used by the poison god. After he died, the power of his soul was inadvertently absorbed by this sword. This is a peerless sword. I can't see what's so good about it. Dear customer, your eyesight still needs to be honed." "Oh, is that so? TSK, TSK, stinking dog. Are you swindling people here again? Are you relying on the fact that you are the dog of the Lord of immortal virtue, that you could be lawless and swindle people? At this moment, a slightly mocking voice came from the side. Su Yun looked over, only to see a young man with a buzz cut walking over with a bamboo stick in his hand and a blade of grass in his mouth. When the big dog heard the man's words, it immediately barked twice in anger and said angrily, "You bamboo stick, what nonsense are you spouting? What's swindling? When have I ever swindled people?" Still denying it, the man snorted. "The last time you sold me the 9 Revolutions pill furnace, you said it was some high-grade pill furnace for refining pills, and it could forcefully increase the grade of pills refined. In the end, I refined 3 pots of pills, and all of them were wasted. Not a single one of them succeeded. At first, I thought it was because my alchemy technique was wrong, but I failed every time. And you still say it's not your furnace's problem? You can't take a shit and blame it on the toilet. That pill furnace is a good thing. It's just that you don't know how to use it. Then why don't you use that pill furnace to refine a pot of pills for me to see? I've also brought the pill furnace. You can refine it here for me. I don't know how to concoct pills." The large dog was starting to panic. Lord Immortal Virtue is best at concocting pills. You've served him for so many years, yet you still say you don't know how to concoct pills? Are you treating me like a 3-year-old? The man sneered again and again, then holding onto the bamboo rod, he walked a few steps forward, pointed at the big dog, and said, "Even if you want to beat a dog, you have to look at its owner. I won't casually touch you. When Lord Immortal Virtue comes, I will seek justice from him." Huh? Hearing that, the big dog immediately panicked and immediately knelt on the ground to beg for mercy. "Great Immortal Zhu! Great Immortal Zhu! Don't! If you say these things to Master, won't Master stew me? I beg of you, I'll return all the money to you. Don't tell Master, what do you think?" Hearing that, the buzz-cut man's face became much better. He nodded his head in satisfaction. "If that's the case, then that's more like it." The big dog did not dare to speak any nonsense. It immediately took out a bag of celestial coins and handed it over to the buzz-cut man while trembling. The buzz-cut man took the celestial coins and counted them. He snorted and laughed, then said to Su Yun, "Fellow immortal, be careful of this cunning dog." With that, he left. Su Yun looked at the man for a long time, then turned his head to look at the big dog. The big dog stuck out its tongue, gasping for air while laughing awkwardly. "That person wronged me. How much is this sword?" Su Yun asked directly. 20,000 celestial coins. "All right." Su Yun nodded to Faceless, who immediately took out 20,000 celestial coins and handed it over to the big dog. In terms of celestial coins, Su Yun had a lot of them. Forget about him. Even the people around him were extremely rich. After all, they controlled more than half of the ultimate martial world's resources, and there were even a few immortal sects. To ordinary immortals, this amount of money was not a small amount, but to Su Yun, it was not a big problem. Hearing that, the big dog almost fainted from happiness. It could not believe that Su Yun would agree so readily, and thought that the other party would lower the price. 20,000 celestial coins. This sword was not even worth 2,000 celestial coins. If it had known that Su Yun would agree so readily, it would have raised the price. The big dog felt a little regretful, but having 20,000 celestial coins was not bad. But just as Su Yun took the sword, he said to Faceless again, "Immediately contact the Lord of Immortal Virtue. Tell him that his dog has just deceived us and want him to give us an explanation. If he doesn't give it, we will immediately go to the Immortal Court to complain." "Yes," Faceless said. With that said, the big dog was so scared that its 4 dog paws went limp. It laid on the ground with its eyes wide open. Although this sword has spirituality, it does not contain much energy, and I can vaguely tell from this energy that it has nothing to do with immortal chi, which means that it is not a sword forged by an immortal, so it is not an immortal sword. There are no seals on the sword. The entire sword is not embedded with gems, and it is not made of any rare materials. You want to sell this sword to me for 20,000 celestial coins? If I report this to the Immortal Court, I am afraid that even your master, the Lord of immortal virtue, will not be able to do anything to me, right? Su Yin said with a serious face. Huh? The big dog was so scared that its tongue almost fell to the ground. Su Yin turned his head, stared at the big dog, and said with a serious face, For you. This sword is for you. The big dog hurriedly shouted. This time, it did not dare to bargain. It hurriedly returned the 20,000 celestial coins. How could it dare to put it in the space bag? Faceless took the celestial coins, kept them, and retreated to the side. Su Yin glanced at the big dog, did not say anything, and immediately turned to leave. Seeing that, the big dog sighed again and again. I was thinking of doing some small business while Master's not here, but I didn't expect to meet these two fiends. Sigh, what bad luck. It had a dejected look on its face, but soon its eyes began to look at the immortals around it, and it muttered, Let's see if there are any unfamiliar faces. Can I coax them a little? If I can earn some money, I can use it to cultivate. However, before it could start thinking about the others, Su Yin, who had left earlier, suddenly returned. Masters, I've returned the money to you, and I've given you the treasure. What else do you want? When the big dog saw Su Yin, it immediately said with a sullen face, Let me ask you something. If you answer to my satisfaction, we can pay you 500 celestial coins. Su Yin said indifferently, 500? Really? The big dog's eyes immediately shone with a golden light. There are too many people here. Let's go somewhere else. All right, I know of an immortal tavern not far away. The wine inside is fragrant and delicious. Why don't we go there and talk? The big dog said with some anticipation. Hearing that, a look of anticipation flashed past Faceless' eyes, and he immediately looked at Su Yin. He loved to drink, and Su Yin knew that, so he immediately agreed. The two of them headed towards the tavern at the end of the street. It didn't seem like it was the first time the big dog had been here. As soon as it entered the tavern, it barked twice and shouted, Waiter, hurry up and arrange a private room for your grandpa, and prepare 2 jars of immortal Don't Get Drunk. Hurry. Oh, isn't this the dog immortal? What? Did you catch another fish? An immortal sitting at the side saw the big dog and immediately teased with a smile. What fishing? These two are my esteemed guests. All of you better keep your mouths clean. The big dog was a little angry. It scolded the few people, and then said to Su Yin, Masters, quickly, this way please. Seeing that, Su Yin understood that the big dog must have been hanging out in Wontai City often. If not, there wouldn't be so many immortals who recognized it. Of course, its reputation might be a little bad. Su Yin had originally planned to continue strolling around Wontai City, but thinking that he was not familiar with the people and places in Wontai City, there was no point in him wandering around blindly, so he decided to find the dog to understand him. Its intelligence was not high, so Su Yin was not worried about exposing his identity. The two of them sat down, and the big dog actually sat down as well. However, its buttocks were relatively high, and it looked like it would fall at any time. However, the big dog did not care about that. When the wine was served, it immediately extended its dog paw, activated the immortal chi, wrapped around the wine cup, and poured it into its mouth. From the looks of it, it seemed like it wanted to swallow the entire cup. After drinking 2 cups, it finally stopped with a happy look on its face. Su Yin also tasted a cup, and when the wine entered his throat, his eyes could not help but light up. The wine was good wine. It had to be said that the wine of the immortal realm was indeed intoxicating. Seeing that Su Yin had taken a sip, Faceless also dared to drink it. However, Su Yin did not come here to drink. When the big dog was about to drink the 3rd cup of wine, Su Yin activated his immortal chi and sealed the mouth of the cup. The big dog was startled and looked at Su Yin in confusion. You've already drunk the wine. If you still want to earn those immortal coins, shouldn't you talk about something that I'm interested in? Su Yin said indifferently. What does Master want to know? The big dog quickly asked. Oh, it's nothing much. I just want to know if anything important has happened in Wontai City recently. Su Yin said indifferently. Yes. The big dog immediately nodded and replied. Anyone who is permanently stationed in Wontai City knows about this. Master, you are a new face, an outsider. You definitely don't know about it, right? Su Yin nodded, his expression slightly tense. What exactly is it? Chapter 1181. Some time ago, someone was beaten to death here. The big dog stretched its head over and said in a low voice, "It seems like 9 days ago, in the center of Wentai City, two groups of immortals started fighting for some reason. The scene was very tragic. It is said that many immortals died. The center of Wentai City was also badly damaged. It has not been repaired yet. As far as I know, although Wentai City is restricted by the Immortal Court, the Immortal Court did not strictly guard this place. There are often immortals fighting here. What you said should not be anything strange, right?" Su Yin frowned. "Fighting? A battle of magical powers is a battle of magical powers, but like you said, it's just a battle of magical powers, and no one has died before. But this time, the casualties are extremely heavy, and it has seriously affected the order of Wentai City. What's more," the big dog suddenly lowered its voice and whispered, "what's more, the people who died this time may be important people." "Important people? Do you know what important people they are?" Su Yin asked. "I don't know." The big dog shook its head. "Someone said it seems to be people from the Immortal Court, but I don't know the details." "People from the Immortal Court?" Zhan Zuyang, from the Ministry of Revenue, came to Wentai City for no reason. Could it be that something happened to the people from the Immortal Court, which led him to come to Wentai City personally? Su Yin fell in a deep thought. The big dog drank a mouthful of wine and asked, "Where did the two of you come from? What business do you have in Wentai City?" "I am from a small sect. I passed by Wentai City, so I came to take a look." "Hee hee, then you've come to the right place. Although Wentai City is ungoverned, being ungoverned also has its own benefits. There's still many good things here. Do you want me to take you there to have a look?" The large dog revealed an evil grin. "Hee hee." Su Yin did not have time to accompany this dog. He shook his head and rejected. "That is a pity." The big dog continued to drink. After a meal, the big dog left the tavern in satisfaction, while Su Yin and Faceless continued to wander the streets. But Su Yin was deep in thought. As he walked, he did not care about the scenery on both sides of the street. "Master, what should we do now?" "There's no need to rush. Let's wait for the Immortal Court's Minister of Revenue, Zhan Zuyang, to arrive first." Su Yin said indifferently, "If we don't know the purpose of the Immortal Lyceum, we can't carry out the next step of our strategy. Xiaochua's information is limited. We can only rely on ourselves for the rest." "Yes, my lord." Faceless nodded. Su Yin led him to the construction area at the edge of Wentai City. After paying 100 Celeste, he rented a training room and waited quietly inside. Su Yin now had the cultivation of the spirit god realm, and with the power of the 10,000 B stone, it was not difficult to deal with a stage for Envoy, so he did not need to make any preparations. 2 days passed quickly, and on the third day, Su Yin received news that Zhan Zuyang had arrived at Wentai City. The arrival of the emissaries of the Immortal Court made Wentai City look rather grand. Moreover, there were more than 100 of them. Except for Zhan Zuyang, the rest of them were wearing battle armors and holding sabers, as if they were protecting Zhan Zuyang. The Immortal Lyceum stationed in Wentai City immediately came out to welcome them. The people at the gate of Wentai City actually separated to two sides, allowing the Immortal Lyceum to enter and exit. It showed how powerful the Immortal Lyceum was. Faceless and Su Yin were already waiting at the gate. Zhan Zuyang was wearing a brown robe with white dots on it. Upon closer inspection, one could see that these dots were standing opposite each other, like a dot matrix. He looked like a middle-aged man with a solemn expression. His hands were clasped behind his back, giving him a strong aura. Those armored people of the Immortal Court were walking on his left and right, giving him the image of a superior. The Immortal Lyceum's Ministry of Revenue was in charge of the distribution of jobs in the Immortal Lyceum. Although he was just a stage 4 envoy, he had a lot of power. Is this the Lord of the Immortal Lyceum? He's so powerful, I can't see through him. TSK, what cultivation do you have? Can you see through the cultivation of the Lord of the Immortal Lyceum? Don't overestimate yourself. As if you're very powerful. Stop arguing. It's useless to talk about this. If you have the heart, Why don't you spend more time cultivating? Let's stop talking. He's from the immortal Lyceum. We can't even compare to him. If we could enter the immortal Lyceum and obtain the fortune of the immortal Lyceum, I wouldn't be like this. But it's not easy to enter the immortal Lyceum. I heard that not only do they have to go through the test, they also have to have connections. Yes, we don't have such luck. The people on both sides were pointing at the immortal Lyceum's people. Some were talking about Zhang Zuyang, but most of them were talking about the immortal Lyceum. Suyin stood in the crowd and listened carefully. He realized that many of them were not familiar with Zhang Zuyang. Zhang Zuyang looked ahead and ignored the people on both sides. His expression was ugly. Suyin felt weird and followed him into the city secretly. The captain of the immortal Lyceum's garrison in Wentai City came over and greeted him. "Greetings, Lord Zhang. Bring me there," Zhang Zuyang said indifferently. "Yes." The captain immediately turned around and walked into the city. The group of immortal Lyceum's people headed towards the center. The rogue immortals on the side also followed them as if they were watching a show. Su Yun and Faceless were in the crowd. The number of immortals in the center of Wentai City gradually decreased. The buildings here also became dilapidated. There were many defensive enchantments set up inside the city, but all that could be seen was the wreckage. The buildings in the center were not operated by immortals either. It was a stark contrast to the bustling scene outside. The war back then should have been quite intense. Suyin looked left and right as he thought. As they continued to walk forward, a huge pit appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The air was still faintly rippling with a terrifying, destructive aura that was difficult to disperse. Suyin looked at the huge pit and frowned. When Zhang Zuyang and the others saw it, their expressions became even uglier. The immortal Lyceum's people stood beside the pit, while Zhang Zuyang entered the pit alone. He paced around the pit for a while. After a long time, he shouted, "Did my son die here?" His voice was a little hoarse. The captain beside the pit hesitated for a moment, then cupped his fists and bowed. "Sir, the young master passed away here." When Zhang Zuyang heard this, he immediately clenched his fists. Many people beside him heard this and came to a realization. It seemed that Zhang Zuyang had come here because his son had died in this chaotic battle. No wonder the Minister of Revenue, who never left the immortal Lyceum, would personally come to Wentai City today. "Did you catch the murderer?" "Yes," the captain immediately said. "Where?" "Bring him here," Zhang Zuyang shouted. The captain nodded, then turned around and shouted to the people behind him, "Bring that guy here." "Yes." Soon, two immortal Lyceum's people dragged an immortal who was wrapped in chains over. The immortal's hair was disheveled, and all his treasures were taken away. He only had a set of clothes to protect his body. His eyes were listless, but when he was brought here, he slowly became angry, as if he remembered something. The people around them were pointing and discussing something. "Kneel!" the two immortal Lyceum shouted. The immortal ignored them and still stood there, staring fiercely at Zhang Zuyang in the pit. "Damn it! I told you to kneel. Didn't you hear me?" The two immortal Lyceum's people directly kicked the immortal's knee. The immortal didn't have much immortal chi, and with his injuries, he couldn't withstand the force at all. He staggered, then knelt on the ground. When Zhang Zuyang saw this, he put his hands behind his back and walked over with a cold gaze. He walked around the immortal, then said solemnly, "You kill my son? You're that bastard's father?" The immortal with disheveled hair shouted through gritted teeth, "How dare you? How dare you insult sir?" The people of the immortal court at the side immediately raised their hands and slapped the immortal's face twice. The two slaps were really ruthless, and the immortal chi had been channeled. When the slaps landed, the immortal spat out a mouthful of blood. The immortal's head turned to the side, and he panted with all his might. He seemed to be a little dizzy. However, Zhang Zuyang didn't want to waste too much time on him. "You killed my son, and didn't even leave his soul behind. Do you know what the consequences are? Your son relied on the immortal Lyceum's support to bully others. He took my dual cultivation partner by force, and killed her. I killed your son. I destroyed his soul. I only regret that I didn't torture him before I killed him, Ha ha. The immortal laughed loudly. Bastard. Zhang Zhuiyang was furious. He slapped the immortal's head and clenched his fingers tightly. The immortal was tortured by the intense pain coming from his head, and he let out a heart-wrenching scream. A crack appeared on his head, and his brain could even be seen through the crack. It was a wretched sight. The surrounding immortals watched in silence. No one said anything to stop him, and no one dared to. Large amounts of blood flowed out of the immortal's head, and he was on the verge of death. However, Zhang Zhuiyang clearly didn't want to let him die so easily. He loosened his grip and said calmly, "My son is dead and can't be revived. However, don't think that's it. I will drag everyone around you down with my son." The immortal, who was tortured to the brink of death, suddenly raised his head and stared at Zhang Zhuiyang in shock. "What are you going to do?" "What am I going to do? Just wait and see." Zhang Zhuiyang's eyes were filled with killing intent, and his expression was extremely cold. He waved his hand and yelled, "Bring everyone related to this person here." Yes, the immortal Lyceum's people nodded and immediately ran off. The immortal panicked and roared madly, "Stop! I'll take responsibility for my own actions, and don't touch my family." However, his words were completely ineffective. Chapter 1182. Suyin did not expect that this guy was actually an immortal that was stationed in Wentai City. Not long after the immortal Lyceum people left, they brought men and women over. These men and women all revealed a look of fear. They did not expect that they would encounter such a calamity. Many of them did not even know that there would be such a calamity. In less than an incense worth of time, the immortal Lyceum people actually brought over 100 immortals, many of whom Suyin had seen before. They were only friends with this man with disheveled hair. But because of Zhang Zhuiyang's words, they were brought over as well. Lord Zhang, why me? I'm not guilty." A man shouted at Zhang Zhuiyang. His eyes were wide open, and he was obviously terrified. "That's right, I did not participate in this riot. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not guilty. Let me go. Let me go. What did I do?" Even the immortal Lyceum people can't be so lawless. "Hurry up and untie me." Shouts sounded continuously. The people seemed to be in a mess, shouting nonstop. However, the immortal Lyceum people did not care. All of them just looked at Zhang Zhuiyang. Zhang Zhuiyang looked at these people expressionlessly. He did not immediately explain, and waited for the people who were brought over to be quiet. Then he opened his mouth indifferently. "Captain, your subordinate is here." The captain of the immortal Lyceum team, who was stationed in Wentai City, immediately responded. "Are these people related to this bastard?" Zhang Zhuiyang pointed at the man and said solemnly, "Yes, this person has been living in Wentai City for a long time and has quite a bit of power. However, most of his clan members are in Southern Peak City, and there are very few clan members in the city. Immediately send people to Southern Peak City to capture them. Remember, do not let go of anyone who is related to him. Bring them all." Zhang Zhuiyang continued, still expressionless. "Yes. Also, kill everyone here." At this moment, he said something that all the immortals present could not believe. As soon as he said that, everyone was shocked. The uproar continued. Kill them all? Was Zhang Zhuiyang crazy? There were at least 100 lives here, and they didn't do anything wrong. They just had a little relationship with this person. Could it be that they would also be implicated? Are you crazy? Are you from the immortal court? You're a madman. The man with disheveled hair roared at the top of his lungs. The rest of the people were even more furious. You want to kill us? Could the people of the immortal court do whatever they wanted? What gives you the right to kill us? Do you know the consequences of this? This immortal court envoy is crazy. He's crazy. Let me go, don't kill me, I'm innocent. Help. Along with Zhang Zhuiyang's order, the scene seemed to be in an uproar, and the entire center of Wentai City was like a hornet's nest that buzzed. Who would have thought that Zhang Zhuiyang would be so extreme? This is simply lawless. At this moment, a brawny man suddenly pushed aside the immortal court envoy who was holding him, and stood up and said angrily, Zhang Zhuiyang, I know you're sad that your son died, but we're innocent. What right do you have to punish us? We didn't participate in the fight between your son and Luha. You're the envoy of the immortal court, and you represent the law of the immortal court. Does the law of the immortal court allow you to arrest people for no reason? To kill people? You don't deserve to be a member of the immortal court. You don't deserve to represent the law of the immortal world. The brawny man's roar silenced the surroundings, but his words soon attracted the response of the immortals. That's right. You don't deserve to be a member of the immortal court. You don't know right from wrong. We didn't do anything. Why should we be punished? We don't accept this. The crowd cursed. Zhang Zhuang's expression didn't change. He slowly turned around and looked at the brawny man. His expression was extremely calm, unbelievably calm. The brawny man was stunned and didn't dare to look him in the eye. At this moment, Zhang Zhuang spoke. You don't accept this? You're innocent? Fine. Let me tell you, where did you go wrong? Do you know that my son is also a member of the immortal court, and he represents the law of the immortal court? My son fought with this person, and this person challenged the law of the immortal court. As members of the immortal world, you enjoy the protection of the immortal court, but you didn't uphold the law in time. This is against the law. If you'd saved my son in the first place, would this have happened? Therefore, you're guilty. You're blaming us for not saving your son back then? The brawny man couldn't believe such a ridiculous reason. That's right, Zhang Zhuang snorted, then suddenly raised his hand and reached out towards the brawny man. Before the brawny man could react, his body suddenly glowed with gray light. Zhang Zhuang had forcibly extracted his soul, and it flew straight into his palm. Under the vast sky, the crowd could see the brawny man's soul struggling madly in Zhang Zhuang's palm. But no matter how he struggled, he couldn't escape Zhang Zhuang's palm. Everyone tensed up. They stared at Zhang Zhuang with wide eyes. Besides, you're just a bunch of ants in my eyes. Since my son is dead, why can't I kill a bunch of ants to vent my anger? With that, Zhang Zhuang clenched his fist. Crack! The brawny man's soul was crushed, turning into fragments and vanishing. This extremely cruel method was simply shocking and shocking to the eyes. In an instant, the entire center of Wontai City was in an uproar. The surrounding immortals were petrified, staring blankly at the scene. As for the immortals who were captured, they were wailing madly. Zhang Zhuang was serious this time. He was indeed going to kill them all. Standing beside them was a member of the immortal court with great cultivation. It was impossible for them to escape, and resisting was suicide. Beast! Beast! Let them go. They're innocent. You want to torture me? Kill me. Come at me directly. Let these innocent people go. The man with disheveled hair didn't expect Zhang Zhuang to do such a thing. His eyes were bloodshot, and he shouted hoarsely. Innocent! Zhang Zhuang looked at him coldly. As long as it's related to you, none of them are innocent. They all deserve to die. Ah! The man couldn't bear such a thing. He stood up and charged towards Zhang Zhuang. However, before he could take a few steps, one of the people of the immortal court beside him kicked him, breaking his kneecap. He fell to the ground, looking extremely miserable. The scene was too horrible to look at. Wails and sobs could be heard everywhere. Su Yun, who was at the side, didn't expect there to be such a reckless person in the immortal court. It seems like Zhang Zhuang brought people here on purpose. His goal is to avenge his son. Faceless stared at that place and said indifferently, it's both for revenge and for venting. Zhang Zhuang is too much. But with his level of cultivation and strength, all of this seems very normal from his point of view. Isn't he afraid of being punished by the immortal court? If there's punishment, it's fine. I'm thinking that even if the immortal court finds out about this, they probably won't even punish him. Su Yin shook his head. Faceless was silent. Woof, woof, woof. Woof, woof, woof. Master. At this moment, a familiar barking came from the side. The two of them looked over and saw the big dog that was drinking with them in the tavern suddenly rushing out of the crowd and running toward the center. Master, it's that dog. Faceless hurriedly said. The big dog ran to the side of a man wearing a purple robe and holding a long sword, then lay down beside him and didn't move at all. That purple robe man should be its master, Lord Immortal Virtue, right? Although the big dog's intelligence was low, it was still able to distinguish some things. It also understood what the current situation was. If it stayed to the side, it would definitely be safe, and it would be able to escape this calamity. However, it did not do so. Instead, in this moment of danger, it still accompanied its master. Sometimes, dogs are becoming more and more like humans, but humans are not even as good as dogs. Suyin stared at the big dog and muttered. Faceless was silent. Among the 100 or so people, there were already people exchanging glances. Although they were not a match for the Immortal Court, they had no other way out. If they didn't fight it this time, only death awaited them. Master, when do we make our move? Faceless asked. Immediately. Suyin looked at the purple-robed man beside the big dog and said in a low voice, Wait for them to make the first move, then we will take advantage of the chaos to attack. Our target is Zhan Zuyang. Ignore the others. They will make a move? They are already at death's door. If they don't make a move, aren't they just sitting there waiting for death? Faceless nodded and secretly gathered his immortal chi. At this time, Zhan Zuyang waved his hand. The Immortal Court people escorted the men and women into the big pit, and Zhan Zuyang also walked into the big pit. He didn't look at these people, but looked around the big pit. Suddenly, he raised his head, his eyes were filled with tears, and he actually started crying. It seemed that the death of his son was a huge blow to him. But this wasn't a reason for him to kill innocent people. Zhan Zuyang cried for a while, then wiped his tears, turned around and nodded at the captain, and said with a hoarse voice, Get rid of them, then fill up this pit. Yes, the captain replied, then waved his hand. All the Immortal Court people immediately raised their blades and gathered their immortal chi. Voila, waves of killing intent spiraled in the air. The surrounding immortals all opened their eyes wide. Let's go. Suyin patted Faceless' shoulder, then directly walked towards the big pit. And just as he took the first step, a strange light suddenly appeared in the big pit. Chapter 1183. Zhan Zuyang, you're too lawless. We clearly did not do anything wrong, but you still want to force your son's death on us. We are clearly just a group of innocent people, but you want to put your hatred on us. If everyone in the Immortal Court is like you, I would rather rebel against the Immortal Court. A roar rang out. The purple-robed Immortal Virtue Monarch pulled out his sword and pointed it at Zhan Zuyang. He was like a rainbow that pierced through the sky. Once his sword was unsheathed, it shocked the world. With the Immortal Virtue Monarch taking the lead, how could the rest just watch? He immediately leaped up and attacked the Immortal Court people beside him. The entire crater was instantly in chaos. How dare you? How dare you defy the laws of the Immortal Court? Defy the punishment of the Immortal Court. Kill. Kill them all. The captain of the Immortal Court was enraged. He raised his blade and shouted. All the Immortal Court people were no longer restrained. They used their immortal chi to slash at the people beside them. For a moment, sword chi flew everywhere and immortal chi overflowed. However, Zhan Zuyang had obviously underestimated these people who had been in Wentai City for a long time. When these immortals who were about to be executed rose up to resist, a large number of immortals rushed out from the crowd and attacked the Immortal Court people. Immortal Court people, don't be too arrogant. People roared. As long as they still had a righteous heart, they would not allow the Immortal Court to act so recklessly. Among these people, most of them were related to those who were captured. People were like this. They were inextricably linked and could not be severed. Suyin had already expected this kind of chaotic battle. The center of Wentai City was like a pot of porridge. However, it was obviously impossible to deal with Zhan Zuyang with just these immortals. Zhan Zuyang's arrogance was not because he was a fourth-rank envoy of the Immortal Court. His arrogance came from his own strength. In his eyes, these people were indeed like a group of ants. Suyin and Faceless changed their appearances and directly walked toward Zhan Zuyang in the center. At this moment, Zhan Zuyang's hands were still behind his back. He coldly stared at the attacking Immortal Virtue Lord with a bit of disdain on his face. The Lord of Immortal Virtue was good at alchemy, but he wasn't very good at attacking. The sharp sword was stabbed left and right by him, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't stab Zhang Zuyang in front of him. Even though the immortal energy on the sword was very dense and could shake the void, Zhang Zuyang was clearly standing in front of him as if he was motionless, but when the sword stabbed forward, it could only rub against the air. Woof woof! The big dog rushed over. Its body turned yellow and expanded, turning into a heavenly dog that was more than 10 meters tall. Its muscles were swollen, its claws were sharp, and its fangs were exposed. Its face was ferocious, and its eyes flickered with a cold light as it stared at Zhang Zuyang. Its aura instantly soared. It raised its claws and slapped at Zhang Zuyang. But before the claw could get close to Zhang Zuyang, the void suddenly trembled. Then, a stream of light shot out and instantly pierced through the dog's sharp claw. Whoosh! The dog's claw instantly shattered into pieces. Its body tilted and instantly returned to its original state. It fell to the ground and curled up in pain. Damn it! The Lord of Immortal Virtue gritted his teeth and was annoyed at himself for being incompetent. The sharp sword was like an embroidery needle in the opponent's eyes. It posed no threat at all. Zhang Zuyang seemed to be a bit impatient. He stared at the Lord of Immortal Virtue in front of him and expressionlessly said, "Do you like to die in this kind of situation? Less nonsense. I, the Lord of Immortal Virtue, never interfere with the matters of the Immortal Court, but I didn't expect this to become my fault. Since you want to kill me, I won't sit still and wait for death. Zhang Zuyang, although I'm not your match, I won't be afraid of you." The Lord of Immortal Virtue gritted his teeth and threw out several strands of immortal energy, but they all hit empty air. The center of Wontai City was crushed by the fighting immortals. Even the surroundings of the city were affected. The people in the city hurriedly ran outside, afraid of being implicated. Zhang Zuyang coldly snorted, and the disdain in his eyes became even stronger. Not afraid? Good. In that case, I'll make you afraid. With that, he was about to attack. The moment the Lord of Immortal Virtue heard this, his expression tightened. He became nervous and didn't know if he could block Zhang Zuyang's attack. But, just as Zhang Zuyang was about to attack, a hand suddenly reached out from behind him and pressed down on his shoulder. "Immortal Courts, Zhang Zuyang?" A voice came from behind him without warning. Zhang Zuyang's heart went cold, and he quickly turned around. "Who?" "I said who I am, but you don't know me." That voice came again. Zhang Zuyang looked over and saw a man wearing a black cloak and a man wearing a mask standing behind him. Before he could react, his arm was cut off. Poochie! Blood rushed into the sky. Zhang Zuyang was startled, and then he felt waves of pain coming from his arm. He took 2 steps back and stared at the 2 people with wide eyes. He almost didn't dare to believe everything. Naturally, he knew best what level of cultivation he had. He also knew what kind of magical treasures he had on him, but his entire body of defense. To this person, it was practically non-existent, because he had so easily cut off his arm. What was even more frightening was, when did he appear behind him? Zhang Zuyang also didn't know. These 2 fellows, just who were they? Zhang Zuyang clenched his teeth. The Lord of Immortal Virtue and the others behind him were also stunned. They didn't even have time to react. Zhang Zuyang, who was originally calm and composed and disdainful of these people, had lost an arm. The big dog lying on the ground opened its eyes and looked at the 2 people. It tried its best to sniff twice and was suddenly stunned. "Lord Zhang, come with us." Su Yin threw away the arm in his hand and said indifferently, "Who are you people? Didn't I say it already? Even if I say who I am, you don't know. Since that's the case, why say it? Do you know who I am? I even called you Lord Zhang. How could I not know who you are? Since that's the case, you still dare to provoke the people of the Immortal Court? It seems like I won't be able to invite you." Su Yin walked straight towards Zhang Zuyang. His steps were slow, but every step he took was filled with extreme boldness. "Stop him." Zhang Zuyang took a few steps back and shouted in a low voice. When the people from the Immortal Court saw the sudden situation, they immediately rushed over. But just as they got close, their bodies were sent flying. Faceless immediately stood guard by Su Yun's side. Any person from the Immortal Court who approached would be sent flying by his fist. As a former Golden Armor Force saint, His brute force was so terrifying that even Su Yun was fearful of it. Seeing that the people from the Immortal Court were no match for the masked man, Zhang Zhuang understood that the two of them had extremely terrifying cultivations. His mind spun rapidly, thinking of a way out, but Su Yun did not give him any time to think. Su Yun's body suddenly moved. As though he had teleported, he landed beside Zhang Zhuang, and with one hand, he pressed down on his other shoulder. Zhang Zhuang's nerves twitched. Just as he thought that his other arm was about to be destroyed, he was shocked to find that the man in the black cloak did not remove his arm. But at this moment, the immortal qi in his body was flowing out crazily, directly into the man's palm, through his shoulder. When he realized this, Zhang Zhuang's heart turned cold. The immortal qi was sucked away? Didn't that mean that he had lost his ability to resist? Let's go, Su Yun said indifferently. He directly grabbed Zhang Zhuang's body, leaped, and suddenly disappeared from Wentai City. Seeing this, Faceless, who had sent a few people from the Immortal Court flying, took a few steps back and followed them, disappearing into thin air. Master has been taken away. Quickly chase after him. The people from the Immortal Court shouted anxiously, but they could not even find the shadow of the other party. How could they chase after him? The scene was extremely chaotic. Many people did not know how Su Yun and Faceless came here, and many people did not even notice that Zhang Zhuang had been taken away. When he was taken away by Su Yun, the chaotic scene gradually calmed down, but there was more fear, astonishment, confusion, and uneasiness. A portion of the people from the Immortal Court went in search of the person who took Zhang Zhuang away, while the rest stayed here to investigate. No one expected that someone would suddenly appear and take Zhang Zhuang away. This was a rank 4 Immortal Court envoy. This was undoubtedly a declaration of war against the Immortal Court. Immediately seal off Wentai City. No one is allowed to enter or leave Wentai City. Quickly. The captain was anxious and immediately shouted. The rest of the people from the Immortal Court did not dare to delay, and quickly did as he said. The surrounding immortals were still confused. Lord Immortal Virtue kept his sharp sword and stared at the sky, still in a daze. I did not expect those two to be such powerful existences. At this moment, the big dog at the side suddenly sighed. Lord Immortal Virtue was startled and quickly asked, "You know the two people who took Zhang Zhuang away? I don't, but I sold them some useless trash, and they treated me to a drink." Useless trash? Lord Immortal Virtue was startled and suddenly opened his eyes wide and looked at the big dog and asked, "What is it?" At this, "Hurry up and tell me the truth. That ancient spirit sword. You actually sold the ancient spirit sword? Didn't Master say that the sword was sealed and no longer had any use?" The big dog covered its wound and pretended to be pitiful. Lord Immortal Virtue was very angry, but since things had come to this, he could not say anything and could only sigh. It was obvious that this big dog often made him angry, but he was already used to it. "How much did you sell it for?" 200 celestial coins. The big dog did not dare to say it was free and could only add in the information fee. Only 200, you stupid dog." "Master, those two people. Who are they?" "I'm not sure, but no matter who they are, I know that they are definitely existences that can contend against the Immortal Court." Chapter 1184. In a quiet pavilion, Faceless stood in front of the door. Inside the room, there was only Su Yun and Zhang Zhuang, who was thrown to the ground. This was the 8 Harmonies sect, the closest force to Wentai City, Su Yun. When Su Yun rushed here, only Kai Tian knew. The rest of the people in the 8 Harmonies sect did not know. Of course, the fewer people who knew about this, the better. The room was especially dark. The windows were tightly shut, and the formation was closed. There was no light at all. Although the vision of immortals at this level would not be affected by darkness, the uneasiness that darkness gave people was something that even immortals could not avoid. "You? Who the hell are you?" Zhang Zhuang raised his dim eyes, looked at Su Yun, and muttered. However, Su Yun did not have the slightest intention of answering his question, but directly walked in front of him, pressed down on his head, and activated the great exquisite technique. This is the great nimble art? You are from the great, exquisite palace? Zhang Ziyang was stunned. He wanted to resist, but the current him could not resist Su Yun at all. The flickering light in Su Yun's eyes directly shot into his eyes, peering into his state of mind and seeing through his soul. Zhang Ziyang's body trembled violently. He seemed to want to self-destruct to protect his secret, but his immortal chi had already been completely absorbed by the imperial battle robe on Su Yun's body. Even if he wanted to commit suicide, he was powerless, and the current him could not do anything. Just like that, after the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Su Yun finally recovered. Zhang Ziyang's face was ashen. He looked at Su Yun in fear. Su Yun's face was ice cold. He directly took out the spirit sword that he bought from the big dog, and without saying a word, he pierced towards Zhang Ziyang's heart. Uft! Zhang Ziyang's body trembled. Following that, his body was directly torn apart by the immortal chi released from the sword edge. His body exploded. His soul flew out, but before it could escape, it was directly destroyed by Su Yun. He had already used the great exquisite technique to find out everything he wanted to know, so it was useless for Zhang Ziyang to stay. After killing Zhang Ziyang, Su Yun walked out of the house. Master, Faceless immediately bowed at the door. Let's go back to the immortal-seeking sect first. Su Yun said indifferently. Yes. Faceless nodded and left with Su Yun. After leaving the octagonal door, Su Yun specially instructed Kai Tian to make preparations in the near future. He had already decided to take the initiative. Even if he didn't attack the immortal court, he would at least destroy their eyes that were searching for the traces of the true devil world. After unleashing the great exquisite technique on Zhang Ziyang, Su Yun's face was gloomy. Although Zhang Ziyang was just a 4th-level envoy, he was the Minister of Revenue. Different from the Ministry of Resources, he was a 4th-level envoy that held true power. Even a 3rd-level mystical envoy would give him some face and would not dare to do anything to him. Zhang Ziyang had been in the immortal court for 1,000 years, but he had never been promoted. It wasn't because he couldn't, but because he didn't want to. He didn't want to give up the lucrative job of the Ministry of Revenue. However, compared to this information, Su Yun naturally obtained a lot of shocking news. He and Faceless rushed towards the immortal-seeking sect in a race against time. Upon entering the immortal-seeking sect, he immediately called for Xiang Yang and Su Luluo. Xiang Yang immediately sent someone to the Big Ling Long Palace and inform Elder Wei Ming. Tell him to immediately gather his troops and head towards the northeast side of Flowing Light City. Along the northeast direction, there is an extremely rare water element spirit crystal, and let him quickly occupy it. Yes, Master. Xiang Yang immediately cupped his fists. Although he was extremely curious as to why Su Yun knew that there was a rare spirit mine there, he did not dare to ask too much. Xiang Yang nodded and then retreated. Su Yun turned his head and said to Su Luluo, Luluo, what orders does brother have? Immediately gather 10 experts above the 5th stage of the spirit profound immortal realm and follow me out. Go out? What does brother plan to do? Oh, go and get something. Su Yun said indifferently. Although he said it, Su Luluo did not think it would be that simple. She nodded and left as well. After a while, 10 devil cultivator-s of the 5th stage of the spirit profound immortal were waiting outside the meeting hall. Right now, most of the devil cultivator-s in the immortal seeking sect were quietly moving towards the Beiyang, while the people arranged by Huai, Romeu entered the immortal seeking sect. These people were all trustworthy, but Su Luluo did not withdraw all of the devil cultivator-s, but left behind a portion of the elites. These devil cultivator-s received a large amount of immortal coins, pills, and magic treasure-s. Their cultivation increased extremely quickly, adding that they were all talented geniuses. Their cultivation speed was several times, or even more than 10 times faster than ordinary people. It was not strange for him to have such a cultivation level. These 10 devil cultivator-s were dressed in the robes of the immortal seeking sect. They were both men and women, and because they were disguised, their appearances were not considered outstanding. But when they saw Su Yun dressed in a black cloak, they recognized who he was, and immediately revealed expressions of excitement. Lord Devil Lord. The 10 devil cultivators shouted in unison. Immediately put away all the things on your body that could expose your identity and follow me later, Suyin said in a low voice. The 10 devil cultivators did not dare to be negligent. They immediately kept their immortal-seeking sect robes and changed into ordinary cloaks, covering themselves up, and kept their order badges. Big brother, where are you planning to go? Su Luluo became even more curious. To retrieve something that should have belonged to the immortal court. Suyin said indifferently. Something from the immortal court? To be more precise, it is something that the immortal court intends to use to deal with the true devil realm. The more Su Luluo heard, the more confused he became, but it was useless to ask Su Yun about this now. He would understand sooner or later. Su Yun prepared for a while, then brought Faceless and the 10 devil cultivator experts out of the immortal seeking sect and rushed towards the immortal court. Time seemed to be a little rushed, to the point that Su Yun had been moving at his fastest speed. They did not know what they were going to do, but since Su Yun did not say, they did not dare to ask. On the way, Su Yun, who had been silent the entire time, finally opened his mouth. This operation is extremely important to us. You must successfully complete the mission. You must not make any mistakes, and even more so, you cannot leave any traces behind. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable. Do you understand? Yes. Everyone shouted in unison. Su Yun nodded his head and continued. 2 days later, the Immortal Court will send an escort team to bring the immortal equipment, Eternal Young God Arrow, which the Immortal Court's craftsmen had spent 3,000 years to gather countless manpower and wealth from the Immortal Court, to the entrance of the underworld. Because the people of the underworld are extremely repulsive to the outside world. Although I do not know what method the sect master used to enter the underworld, but I know that these people from the Immortal Court are unable to enter the underworld. If they want to open the door to the underworld, they can only rely on forceful methods, and this Eternal Young God Arrow is their trump card. So Master wants us to seize this item to prevent the people of the Immortal Court from attacking the underworld and exterminate the devil cultivator. Faceless nodded, as if he had thought it through. Not only to prevent the people of the Immortal Court from attacking the underworld, this item also has other uses. Where are they now? They're taking the route of the Cloud Creek Plains, so we will wait for them there. It will only take a little more than a day to get there, so we have enough time to prepare there. Lord Demon Lord, how many people are there in the team that is escorting the Eternal Young God Arrow? At this time, a Devil Lord mustered up his courage and asked. There are a total of 11,000 people. All of them are experts above the 5th stage of the Spirit Profound Immortal Realm, led by a 1st stage Spirit Profound God. Su Yin said. With that said, the 10 Devil Cultivators were all dumbstruck and looked at Su Yun with their tongues tied. Faceless was also shocked. He was stunned. More than 10,000 people. There's even a Spirit Profound God, Almighty Expert leading the team? There are only 12 of us. Can we really defeat all of them? And we still have to take the Eternal Young God Arrow from their hands. Can we do that? The 10 Devil Cultivators all revealed ugly expressions. Hearing Su Yun's words, their originally confident mentality was completely shattered, and they all started to panic. Seeing that, Su Yun suddenly stopped. Everyone stopped in their tracks and shifted their gazes to look at him. Are you guys afraid? Su Yun suddenly said. Everyone was silent. If you're afraid, then you've already lost. Master, this is not a matter of courage, but the disparity in strength is too great. If we go, we will only be courting death. Disparity in strength? If we don't give it a try, how can we know the disparity in strength between us and the enemy? Su Yun said indifferently. All of you must remember, no matter what, do not be afraid, even if the enemy is countless times stronger than you. In that situation, I will allow you to escape, but I will never allow you to be afraid. Escaping is not equal to failure, but being afraid is a crushing defeat. When everyone heard this, they all lowered their heads. Su Yun sighed and continued to move forward. The path that the true devil sect was taking now was just like Su Yun's current plan of action. Whether it was strength or numbers, the other party was stronger than them. However, they were still heading towards the enemy's location. It was not that they did not care about life and death, but that they had no way out. These 10 devil cultivators all came from the true devil sect. In the past, they were not afraid of life and death, and devil cultivators were not afraid of death. This was something that everyone in the myriad realms knew, but as their cultivation continued to rise, they also began to cherish their lives more and more. After all, it was not easy to cultivate to this level. Su Yun could understand that once he died, all of his efforts and good fortune would become an illusion. However, the current situation did not allow for fear. A day later, Su Yun led the 11 of them and finally arrived at the Cloud Creek Plain. This was the southwest side of the Immortal Court. It was a 5-day journey from the Immortal Court. There were no spirit mines here, and there were very few immortal cities. Thus, very few immortals appeared here. Perhaps many people did not know why the group escorting the eternal young god arrow would head this way. After all, the direction of the Immortal Realm Gate was not here, but Su Yun, who had obtained all of Zhang Zhuiyang's memories, knew everything. Here, there was a teleportation point that the Immortal Court had secretly set up, and this point was like a celestial gate that led to the myriad realms. Once one entered this door, the eternal young god arrow would be sent to the true devil realm within a few breaths of time. Chapter 1185. Ever since the riot in the Immortal Sect, the Immortal Court had made many important changes in the management of the immortal world. After experiencing the pain of the true devil realm, the Immortal Court took advantage of the time when the people of the true devil realm escaped into the underworld to secretly set up a few teleportation points that went straight to the true devil realm. As long as the people of the true devil realm left the underworld and returned to the true devil realm, the people of the Immortal Court could enter the true devil realm in an instant and exterminate all the devil cultivators. The current Immortal Court had already placed great importance on the true devil realm. Especially after the devil cultivator appeared in the immortal world, the Immortal Court had already viewed the true devil realm as their #1 enemy. However, from Zhang Zhuiyang's memories, he knew that other than dealing with the true devil realm, the Immortal Court was also investigating and guarding against a mysterious force. This force was the force that caused the chaos in the Immortal Sect. The only thing that made people feel fortunate was that Su Qing was currently in the midst of her transformation and was hidden inside the sword sheath. Many of the immortals in the immortal world were unable to lock onto her exact location, causing the Peerless Sect and Su Yun to be much more relaxed. Now that there were no longer so many thieves staring at Su Qing, Su Yun did not have to worry anymore. Arriving at the Shixiayan Plains, there was no one around. The 10 devil cultivators surveyed the surroundings, then returned and reported to Su Yun that it was safe. "Master, what should we do now?" Faceless asked. "You lead these 10 fellows over there to set up the formation." "Formation? What array?" "The Aura Concealment Formation uses the immortal stone slab as the foundation of the formation." As Su Yun spoke, he took out a huge white stone slab and placed it on the ground. At the same time, he took out a lot of materials that he had prepared beforehand from his space bag. "When we fight later, your target is the Eternal Sun Divine Arrow. I will deal with the guards." You immediately put the Eternal Sun Divine Arrow on the immortal stone slab carved with the Aura Concealing Array to hide all the aura of the Eternal Sun Divine Arrow. Then, quickly transport it to the Immortal Seeking Sect, understand? "Yes." "Master, you said you will deal with the guards?" Faceless found it hard to understand and asked in astonishment, "My lord, do you plan to deal with these tens of thousands of people alone?" "Yes." Su Yun nonchalantly nodded his head, then looked at these people and said, "You guys should quickly start setting up the array. There's not enough time." When they heard this, they hurriedly ran over, picked up the materials on the ground, and began to carve a formation on the immortal stone slab. However, after hearing Su Yun's shocking words, no one could react in time. It felt like Su Yun did not call them over to deal with the people from the Immortal Court, but purely to let them transport the items. From the very beginning, Su Yun didn't plan to let them fight with the Immortal Court. The 10 Devil Cultivator-S were especially shocked, and so was Faceless. It turned out that in Su Yun's mind, the enemy that was extremely powerful in their hearts was already someone that he was prepared to attack. In fact, in the hearts of the Devil Cultivator-S, the demon lord of the true devil sect was like their god. Because after several battles, the demon lord had given them hope, and those supreme existences that they could only look up to and not blaspheme were like grass in his eyes. The 10 Devil Cultivator-S were still in a trance. When they thought that the person standing beside them was the war god of the devil world, they became extremely excited. After spending half a day, the concealing aura formation was finally completed. Su Yun waved his hand, and Faceless and the 10 Devil Cultivator-S immediately hid themselves. Su Yun activated the power of the Imperial Battle Robe and fused with his surroundings, concealing his figure. Now he just had to wait. Su Yun quietly looked at the entrance of the Cloud Creek Plain, looking into the distance, but his mind was unable to calm down. Su Yun had not completely digested the information he had received from Zhang Zuyang. Although Zhang Zuyang was only a level 4 Immortal Court envoy, he knew a lot of things about the Immortal Court. The reason why the Immortal Court was powerful was not only because they had many elites and talents, but also because of their solid foundation. However, very few people knew how the Immortal Court was formed and how it developed. Zhang Zuyang's father was once the Imperial Blade Envoy of the Immortal Court, and was also one of the early elites of the Immortal Court. After sacrificing himself on a mission, Zhang Zuyang received his father's blessing and became a Stage 5 envoy of the Immortal Court. Due to his father's close friend, he was able to advance to the stage for within a few years, but with his methods, it would be extremely easy for him to advance to the Stage 3, but he did not do so. Zhang Zuyang's father had left behind many treasures, and one of them was a book that recorded the development of the Immortal Court. This book was written by his father, and the contents inside were vivid and bloody. At the time, the immortal world was in chaos, and at that time there were many sects in the immortal world, but they were not unified. After the establishment of the Immortal Court, in order to quickly strengthen themselves, they would usually use the method of annexation, and the so-called annexation was to slaughter the entire immortal sect and seize their resources. The Immortal Court did not need those sects to surrender. What they wanted was iron and blood, to use their own methods to establish a frightening law, to use their own methods to rule the entire immortal world, and under the leadership of the Supreme Expert, they had indeed done it. However, before the Immortal Court was on the right track, they had destroyed nearly 1,000 sects, and countless immortals had been slaughtered. After the establishment of the Immortal Court, the so-called law was not perfect enough, causing many evildoers to go unpunished. Many unjust cases occurred, and innocent people were implicated. In fact, this kind of thing was like the establishment of a dynasty, no matter which dynasty it was. At the beginning of its establishment, after the tempering of time, if it was not improved, it would be destroyed sooner or later, but if it could be improved in time, it could continue to develop and grow. If that was all, Su Yun did not have any ill feelings towards the Immortal Court, but the history book of the Immortal Court recorded by Zhang Zuyang's father did not only describe these things. Could it be that they have always been looking for that thing? Su Yun murmured. At this time, a large number of black dots floated over from the distant horizon. These black dots were densely packed, like ants moving quickly together. As they approached, the dots grew larger and larger, gradually taking the shape of a person. The Immortal Court's team that was transporting the Eternal Sun Divine Arrows had arrived. Su Yun collected his thoughts and looked towards the direction of Faceless, who was in the dark, and saw them nodding, indicating that they were ready. The team gradually approached, accompanied by bursts of abnormally dazzling red light. That was the light coming from the middle of the crowd. The tens of thousands of people from the Immortal Court formed a circle, densely packed, and marched forward. At the center of them was a huge, flying magical tool, which was 3 meters tall. Below it were 2 lifelike and majestic statues of white tigers, and above the statues was a layer of fiery red stone slab. There was a formation imprinted on the stone slab, and when the formation was activated, a small sun floated above it, and a huge and sharp fiery red arrow pierced through the small sun. This was the eternal sun divine arrow. The formation on the stone slab could not be closed, and it could not be kept in a spatial bag. Otherwise, the formation would stop, and the eternal sun divine arrow would be useless. Therefore, Su-Yun could only ask Faceless and the others to transport away. Su-Yun pulled out the spirit sword he bought from Big Dog from the sword sheath. Although this sword did not seem to have any special use for now, with Su-Yun's cultivation, he no longer cared about the shape, characteristics, or sharpness of the weapon he used. His swordsmanship had already begun to advance to the point where having no sword was better than having a sword. He leaped up and floated over, directly in front of the Immortal Court's troops. When he approached, the troops hurriedly stopped. Swoosh! Almost all the people from the Immortal Court took out their immortal treasures and weapons at Su-Yun and stared at him with vigilant eyes. "Who are you? Get out of the way, or you will die without a burial place." An immortal with a flag on his back flew out and shouted at Su-Yun angrily. But Su-Yun did not answer. Seeing this, the immortal waved his hand without hesitation and said, "Take him down." Yes. Immediately, 10 people from the Immortal Court rushed up, wanting to attack Su-Yun. However, at this moment, Su-Yun did not have the slightest intention of showing mercy. He suddenly raised his eyes, and his eyes suddenly turned blood red. His body flickered, and when he stabilized, the 10 people from the Immortal Court were already standing in the same place, as if they were frozen. "Hey, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and take this person down." The immortal with the flag on his back shouted anxiously. But after a moment, the 10 immortals' bodies gradually disintegrated, and he shut his mouth. The 10 people turned into minced meat and died. Seeing this, the surrounding people all revealed a look of horror. Instant kill. Instant kill. And no one could see clearly how he did it. In an instant, everyone around knew that this person's strength was abnormally strong. "What's going on? Why aren't you moving forward? Bastard, don't you know that if you delay, all of us will be punished?" At this moment, a fiendish voice came from the crowd, and a strong man with a fierce face and a big blade on his shoulder pushed the crowd and walked over. "Lord, Lord, Lord," the people from the Immortal Court shouted anxiously. As soon as the strong man walked out of the crowd, he immediately aimed at Su-Yun, who was outside the crowd. He snorted inwardly and walked over with a big blade on his shoulder, his whole body filled with a domineering aura. "Bastard, who are you?" The strong man looked at Su-Yun casually and shouted in a rough voice. "Give me the eternal sun divine arrow, and you will not die," Su-Yun said. As soon as his words fell, the whole place fell silent, and then exaggerated laughter burst out. "Ha ha ha!" The strong man laughed so hard that he almost burst into tears. After a while, he stopped laughing and looked at Su-Yun while laughing and shouted, "Little boy, do you know who we are? Ha ha! You actually hit the main character of the Eternal Sun Divine Arrow. Do you know how to write the word death?" "Ha ha! Death? Do you know how to write it?" Su-Yun turned around and asked. Chapter 1186. The big-sized man was startled. Shinner frowned. Her eyes widened as she stared at Su-Yun, a faint light flashing in her eyes. He seemed to be spying on something, but a moment later, his expression turned ugly, and he couldn't help but take half a step back. Damn it, he couldn't see through this guy's cultivation. Who the hell was he? Since he came here alone, he must have come prepared, the big-sized man thought. However, Su-Yun was here to retrieve the item, so he had to end the battle quickly. He would not give his opponent too much time to think, so he immediately raised the spirit sword and rushed towards the big-sized man. When he pushed his speed to the limit, the tens of thousands of people from the Immortal Court were unable to catch his movements. Only the big-sized man could vaguely sense his figure. The big-sized man had a cultivation of the first stage of the spirit god realm, and in the vast immortal world, he was already an extremely powerful existence. However, facing Su-Yun, who was at the 5th stage of the spirit god realm, his cultivation seemed to be lacking. His heart turned cold, and he immediately waved the exaggerated and gigantic blade. The wind from the long blade exploded from the edge of the blade, and a pressure that could shatter the void dispersed in all directions. The immortals at the side all retreated due to the big-sized man's sudden action, and the entire formation of the immortal court instantly fell into chaos. So. At this moment, tens of thousands of terrifying sword images appeared in the air. The people from the immortal court could not see the sword images at all. Only the big-sized man with the cultivation of the spirit god realm could see that the sword images suddenly appeared, like the bloody mouth of the abyss ghost god. When the big-sized man saw this scene, his scalp went numb. He realized that his blade was useless against that guy. In a moment of danger, the big-sized man quickly turned his body, wanting to dodge, but the sword images were too fast and too dense. He could only barely dodge the vital parts. Poochie. His skin and flesh were cut by a large number of sword images, causing blood to spurt out. He staggered and fell to the ground, unable to stand steadily. Seeing the big-sized man's appearance, the immortals around were dumbstruck. They did not even realize what had happened, and only saw the big-sized man being suppressed in an instant. My lord, the people from the immortal court immediately rushed over. Quick! Immediately inform the immortal court and ask them to send supreme expert to suppress this. Seeing that something was wrong, the big man immediately shouted at the people beside him. When the bystanders heard this, they hurriedly took out their communication magic treasures and prepared to ask for help from the celestial court. However, just as they took out their magic treasures, a cold light swept over and instantly slashed it. I said that if you hand over the eternal sun divine arrow, I can let you go. Suyin bellowed. Bastard, how dare you provoke the immortal court? You'll die a horrible death. The big-sized man was exposed, his skin suddenly turned red, his chi instantly increased, the big blade in his hand also became bigger, chopping towards Su Yun's head. But Su Yun did not dodge and allowed it to slash. He raised his hand, and the spirit sword was extremely light, like a spirit. With his movements, it nimbly pierced towards the burly man's heart. Dang! The big blade slashed at Su Yun's head, but was blocked by the imperial battle robe. Puff! The big man's body was pierced by the spirit sword, and his bloody heart was directly pierced out by the sword like a peach. The burly man's body trembled as he stared at the sword on his body. His face was filled with astonishment. This guy, just what cultivation does he have? The big-sized man was shocked. Su Yun was also frowning. He lowered his head to look at the sword in his hand, and for some reason, he felt that the sword was not an ordinary sword, because when it was stained with blood, the sword seemed to show signs of pulsation. Forget it. Su Yun activated his immortal chi, and the big blade that was pressing down on his head was instantly shattered. The immortal chi followed the spirit sword and entered the big-sized man's body, causing his body to shatter. The big-sized man died. This first stage of the spirit profound god did not even last 100 rounds in Su Yun's hands. Such a method instantly shocked the 10,000 immortals. Su Yun did not show any mercy this time, since they were still unwilling to leave after persuading them twice. Then he could only kill them all. The immortal chi surged out from his arms like two wind dragons, blowing towards the immortals. They were densely packed and surrounded Su Yun, but were blown away by the immortal wind. Their bodies were even torn apart by the immortal wind. They were in a sorry state. The seemingly aggressive and mighty army was directly turned into a mess by Su Yun alone. Faceless and the 10 devil cultivators who were hiding in the shadows were all dumbstruck. Demon Lord. Just how strong is the Demon Lord? One of the devil cultivator muttered as he stared at the scene unblinkingly. However, no one around him answered his question. The people of the immortal court started to retreat in defeat. They realized that no matter what magic treasure they used, they could not harm Su Yun in the slightest. He was simply an invincible existence. Even though they had over 10,000 people, they were all useless in front of him. Finally, after a stalemate with Su Yun for less than 100 breaths of time, someone chose to retreat. With the big-sized man dead, they no longer had a leader, adding on the fact that Su Yun had displayed too terrifying of a strength. Even if they were suppressed in numbers, they would not have any advantage, so more and more people chose to flee. With someone fleeing, the rest of the people would not resist anymore. After all, they still knew their own capabilities. In the blink of an eye, the 10,000 people had actually fled into the distance and disappeared without a trace. Suyin did not chase after them. His purpose for coming here today was not to kill. Although these immortals were nothing in his eyes, if he were to kill them, it would take a lot of effort. Furthermore, the eternal sun god Arrow had been lost. Even if he slaughtered this group, it would be difficult to hide the truth. One had to know that there was still an envoy in the immortal court. And from Zhang Zhuiyang's memories, he knew that other than the envoy, the immortal court had many special methods that the immortals of the outside world did not know about. After the group fled, Su Yun waved his hand, and Faceless and the 10 Devil Cultivator immediately rushed out, mounted the eternal sun god Arrow, and directly headed towards the direction of the immortal-seeking sect. "Master, aren't you coming with us?" Seeing that Su Yun was still standing there, Faceless immediately turned his head and asked, "The matter is not over yet. You guys go back first. The people from the immortal court are about to arrive. I have to block them here. We can't let them know your movements. Otherwise, we can only give up on the eternal sun god Arrow." Su Yun said. Upon hearing that, Faceless nodded thoughtfully. "Move faster. Follow the route I gave you before. Try to avoid the eyes and ears of the immortal court. Take the small path and transport the eternal sun god Arrow into the immortal-seeking sect as soon as possible." "Yes." Faceless nodded, and the group set off. When they gradually disappeared into the horizon, Su Yun sat down cross-legged, closed his eyes, and meditated, quietly waiting. The immortal court was alert. There was a sensor on the eternal sun god Arrow. This sensor could not be removed, at least not in a short period of time, and when the eternal sun god Arrow passed through the hands of someone not from the immortal court, the immortal court would immediately be alerted. So Su Yun did not consider slaughtering the group to buy time. Because when Faceless and the others touched the eternal sun god Arrow, the experts of the immortal court were already rushing over. This uninhabited Cloud Creek plain was abnormally quiet. Only a gust of wind from an unknown source was blowing over. Su Yun closed his eyes, slowly recuperating. After an unknown period of time, a dot floated over from the horizon. When the dot appeared on the horizon, it instantly disappeared, and when it reappeared, it was already standing in front of Su Yun. It was a man wearing a fiery red armor, holding a sword with both hands. The man had long hair hanging down to his waist, fair skin, and a delicate face, with a faint smile hanging from the corner of his mouth, and a faint smile in his eyes. The fiery red armor and the fiery red sword in his hand were both imprinted with black runes, looking extremely extraordinary. His appearance was very sudden, but it was all within Su Yun's expectations. He raised his head, and the pale face under the cloak reflected on the man's body. From Zhang Zhuiyang's memory, he learned that this man was called Fire Mist Sword Immortal by the people of the Immortal Court, and belonged to the special department of the Immortal Court, the Army Group. They were pure thugs of the Immortal Court, and they solved some extremely special matters for the Immortal Court. Of course, these so-called thugs were not ordinary thugs. In the Immortal Court, they had the absolute right to speak, but usually they would not get involved in too many matters of authority, and they rarely spoke. They even rarely appeared in the important ceremonies of the Immortal Court, so the impression they gave people had always been extremely mysterious. "Are you waiting for me?" the man asked. His voice was very pleasant to hear. "Yes." "Where's the eternal young god, Arrow?" The man smiled and asked again. "It's taken away. Isn't it on you?" "Yes." "Then what should I do?" The man was a little vexed. "Go back. Just say that you can't find it." Su Yun stood up and suggested a solution that was very suitable for him. "This isn't too good. I can't hand it over." "Then what do you want?" Su Yun asked. The man thought hard and was at a loss. Suddenly, his expression relaxed. His eyes lit up, and he said happily, "If I carry your head and bring your soul back, maybe I can report it." "All right." Su Yun nodded. "You agree?" "Yes, I agree." Su Yun's gaze shifted to the sword in his hand. His left hand gently caressed the blade and said, "But my friend doesn't seem to agree. You have to get it to agree. That's easy. The man laughed and then walked towards Su Yun. But just as he took his first step, billions of sparks suddenly appeared around Su Yun, like an iron bucket, surrounding him so tightly that not even a drop of water could leak out. The black mark red mist blade in his hand immediately ignited at this moment. However, just as the billions of sparks appeared, before they could be ignited by the fire mist sword immortal, they suddenly hissed and disappeared. Su Yun quietly looked at the fire mist sword immortal, his face expressionless. You're more powerful than I imagined. Then what do you plan to do? Want to be fine if I break your sword? He said, smiling innocently. Chapter 1187. When he activated his immortal chi, the entire cloud stream plane seemed as if it was about to burn. The temperature rose rapidly, and the entire cloud plane turned fiery red. The smile on the fire mist sword immortal's face became even lighter, but when he waved his sword, every strike seemed extremely heavy. The blade of his sword released a large amount of sparks. These sparks were like a meteor shower that streaked across the sky, beginning to drift in all directions. This is domain? Su Yun looked around and said indifferently, Yes, do you like it? The man laughed. It's just SOSO. Su Yun walked towards the man. As soon as he moved, the entire Cloud Creek plain actually ignited. The thick clouds spat out a huge fire that shot into the sky, completely surrounding the two people above. The blazing temperature of hundreds of thousands of degrees directly enveloped Su Yun. However, regardless of whether it was the fire mist sword immortal or Su Yun, this temperature was useless against him. The current Su Yun, unless he threw him into the center of the sun, this temperature alone would not have any effect on him. Interesting. Seeing that Su Yun was not affected by the effects of his domain, the smile on the man's face became no longer as relaxed as before. He was starting to get serious. Buzz, 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 buzz. At this time, waves of sword hums were produced, and the burning sword in his hand began to tremble crazily. Every time the sword edge trembled, the flames on the entire plains would also sway, and the flames around Su Yun's body were doing their best to twitch his body, as if the flames had turned into a blade. As the sword trembled more and more frequently, the frequency at which the flames cut his body also increased. The fire mist sword immortal bent his body, his left arm facing backwards, holding onto the extremely long flame sword with one hand. In the midst of the flames, he directly charged towards Su Yun. Halfway through, he stomped his feet, and his left arm quickly moved backwards, striking the sword hilt. The impact from his arm struck the sword hilt, causing the flames on the flame sword to become even more intense, and his strength increased crazily. Both of his hands tightly gripped onto the sword, like a flying rocket. When he got close to Su Yun, his body also started to spin, and the surrounding flames seemed to be absorbed by him, continuously flowing into his body. In the blink of an eye, one man and one sword had actually transformed into a majestic and mighty flaming dragon, roaring as it charged forward. Such a terrifying aura and suffocating destructive aura was enough to make any spirit profound God existence tremble in fear. This fire mist sword immortal was at least an existence that was close to the fifth stage of the spirit profound God. The immortal court was indeed full of experts. Even a figure like him was only part of the army squad and was not a special existence. Zhang Ziyang knew very little about the military group. It was a rather mysterious organization in the immortal court because it was under the direct command of the president. Rank 4 envoys like them could never come into contact with it. Not even rank 3 profound envoys could communicate with it directly. No one knew how many people there were in the troop or how strong each person was. This time, the Fire Mist Sword Immortal took action because the eternal Yang Divine Arrow was related to the extermination of the demon dwellers, so the Immortal Court attached great importance to it. Su Yun activated the Immortal Qi and quickly condensed it in front of him, transforming into a thick wall of Immortal Qi. When a wall of Qi appeared, even the surrounding flames were dispersed. The flaming dragon's aura did not decrease and directly attacked. Su Yun focused his eyes, and vaguely, he seemed to be able to see the fire dragon opening its mouth and roaring, and there seemed to be a flash of sword light. He gripped the hilt of the spirit's sword tightly and took a step forward. "It's here." The roaring fire dragon fiercely smashed into the wall of immortal chi. Bang! The vast sound echoed to the ends of the world. The clouds above the Cloud Creek plain immediately began to crumble. As for the flames on the cloud, they were like blooming roses starting to bloom outwards. The dragon of rage instantly dissipated, and the destructive power fiercely supported Su Yun's body, but it was unable to make him retreat even half a step. The sword quickly attacked, revealing its killing move, but clang! A clear sound blossomed within the raging flames. The spirit sword in Su Yun's hand accurately blocked the Fire Mist Sword Immortal's flaming sword. That terrifying murderous aura was directly blocked, unable to advance by even half an inch. Interesting. The Fire Mist Sword Immortal chuckled. He exerted force with both of his arms, wanting to knock Su Yun away, but realized that Su Yun's strength was shockingly strong. He was unable to bounce him away, and could only borrow the force to retreat, pulling apart the distance. He blasted the sky and earth apart. The universe was incinerated, but the other party was not harmed in the slightest. At this moment, the Fire Mist Sword Immortal also understood that the existence in front of him was not as easy to deal with as he had imagined. Fire Chain. The Fire Mist Sword Immortal lightly waved his sword, and the surrounding flames shot out a large amount of iron chain-shaped flames, entangling towards Su Yun. Su Yun continued to activate the Imperial Battle Robe, intending to expel the flames, but when the fire chain approached, it did not turn into smoke and dissipate as he had expected. Instead, it directly wrapped around his body, binding him tightly. He frowned, looked down, and realized that these fire chains were not formed from Fire Mist Sword Immortal's immortal chi, but were real things. Under the flames, there were indeed thick chains. This was a magic treasure. The iron chains started to tighten on their own, as though they wanted to strangle Su Yun to death. The Fire Mist Sword Immortal laughed, and his body suddenly disappeared. Following that, a figure could be seen moving quickly with Su Yun as the center. He went straight to the point, charging straight to the point, but did not injure Su Yun. Instead, he waved his sword randomly in the air. Was he casting a spell? Su Yun thought. Although the Fire Mist Sword Immortal was strong, it also made Su Yun very interested. His sword technique was not a direct slash, but used the sword to perfectly unleash his immortal chi, perfectly displaying the greatest lethality of his power. This was completely different from the sword arts experts he had met before. He took a deep breath and suddenly exerted force with both of his arms, breaking all the iron chains with a fierce force. However, the Fire Mist Sword Immortal seemed to have completed his spell. His body that was moving at a high speed suddenly stopped, and he directly stood in front of Su Yun. Holding onto his sword with both hands, he slashed towards him. His attack did not seem to be an attack to attack Su Yun, but more like an attack to guide something. As expected, before the attack could hit Su Yun, bursts of dazzling light suddenly shot over from all directions. There was no way to dodge the attack. After touching his body, Su Yun felt that his entire body was not injured in the slightest, nor did he feel any pain. However, his soul felt an extremely painful burning sensation. A direct attack on the soul? Was this a mental spell? But it didn't seem like it. Su Yun frowned. He felt that he had underestimated his enemy. He stared at the Fire Mist Sword Immortal who was slashing at him, and suddenly raised his spirit sword, knocking the flaming sword away, and then kicked towards his abdomen. The Fire Mist Sword Immortal thought that Su Yun's soul had been corroded by a spell and was in so much pain that he could not move. Unexpectedly, Su Yun's reaction speed and attack were not affected in the slightest. His body flew out like a shooting star, directly flying out of the Cloud Creek plain. When he regained his senses, he anxiously used his chi to stabilize his body. But just as he activated his immortal chi, the intense pain from his abdomen almost caused him to fall unconscious again. Looking down, his entire abdomen had actually caved in, and the armor on his body had directly split open. What a powerful force. This was the only thought in the fire mist sword immortal's mind. When he finally stabilized his body, Su Yun had already rushed over. He would not blindly defend, because time did not allow him to. He could only finish the battle quickly, otherwise it would attract more immortal court experts, which would only be disadvantageous to him. It's not that I'm looking down on you now. It's you who's looking down on me. The smile on the fire mist sword immortal's face gradually disappeared. He raised his sword high up. The tip of the sword pointed towards the sky, and a wave of immortal energy flew towards the sky, mobilizing the starfire, and directly descended. A beam of light descended from the sky and struck Su Yun's body. He realized that the immortal chi that he had overflowed was automatically ignited and could not be used at all. Heavenly Moon Sword Technique. The fire mist sword immortal suddenly shouted and actually wielded his sword with both arms, slashing toward Su Yun. He was completely unaffected by the light pillar that descended from the sky and could use sword techniques at will. Su Yun did not expect the fire mist sword immortal to be proficient in close combat. But compared to that, Su Yun was more concerned about the sword in his hand. Divine Wind Sword Technique. Su Yun bellowed, and his body suddenly disappeared into the light pillar, and the flaming sword directly pounced on empty air. The target had disappeared. The fire mist sword immortal's eyes tensed up. Wong wong wong. Waves of sword cries suddenly came from behind him. The fire mist sword immortal anxiously turned around to defend, but the sword cries were actually slower than the speed at which the sword was thrusting towards him. When he heard the sword cries, the sword had already pierced through his armor, piercing through his body, and a terrifying immortal chi was injected into his body. It's over. Su Yun's eyes flashed with killing intent. His palm moved slightly and was about to twist the spirit sword and shatter the fire mist sword immortal. In that moment of life and death, the fire mist sword immortal seemed to have sensed the danger. He suddenly gritted his teeth and spat out a flaming pearl from his mouth. The moment the pearl left his mouth, with a bung sound, Su Yun and the fire mist sword immortal's bodies immediately twisted, and the immortal chi that he had injected into the spirit sword also couldn't help but stagnate for a short period of time. When everything returned to normal, he was actually a kilometer away from the fire mist sword immortal. Life-saving treasure. Su Yun stared at the shattered pearl, his eyebrows slightly raised. You're very strong. I'm not your match. The fire mist sword immortal wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, held the wound on his chest, and panted slightly as he left. Su Yun did not say anything and continued to fly towards him. It seems like I can't defeat you by myself. This time, I underestimated your strength. I really didn't expect that in this vast immortal world, there would be such an interesting fellow like you. The fire mist sword immortal laughed. You don't want my head and soul anymore. I can't afford it. I'll leave it with you first, and we'll talk about it later. The fire mist sword immortal laughed, and then suddenly turned around and fled into the distance. His speed was as fast as it could be, as if it was done in one go, without the slightest bit of sloppiness. Su Yun stood rooted to the ground, staring blankly, forgetting to chase after him. Chapter 1188. Whoosh! A fiery beam of light streaked across the horizon, as if tearing a hole in the firmament. The guard stationed at the gate of the immortal court immediately became vigilant when they saw the person flying over. When they finally saw who the person was, they hastily let him pass. Fire Mist Sword Immortal gripped his long sword tightly. His expression was solemn, and the smile on his face was gone. He used all his strength to rush forward. After entering the immortal court, he ran toward the upper floors of the immortal court like a madman. The people of the immortal court greeted him along the way, but ignored him. He didn't know how many floors he had run up, but he knew that there were no more people of the immortal court here. The entire floor was quiet and empty. Although the floors were high, there was no light. He could only use treasures to illuminate the path. The entire floor was unusually dark. Fire Mist Sword Immortal seemed to be used to the atmosphere here. He didn't stop and directly walked toward the bronze door at the innermost part of the floor. The door looked very grand, but under the dim light, it gave off a mysterious feeling, especially the two huge words on top of the door, which made it look even more solemn. Army Group. This was the famous and mysterious organization Army Group in the Immortal Court. A person stood in front of the door. This person wore armor and a helmet that covered his face. He was thin and small, and the armor didn't seem to match him at all. I want to see Lord. Fire Mist Sword Immortal quickly walked over and cupped his fists. Lord is cultivating. Come back another time. A very androgynous voice sounded. It was hard to tell whether the voice belonged to a man or a woman. The Eternal Sun Divine Arrow was taken away. I'm no match for that person, Fire Mist Sword Immortal immediately said. The person hesitated for a moment, then said plainly, "Wait here." With that, the person pushed the door open and entered. After a while, he came out again. He pushed the door open completely and said to Fire Mist Sword Immortal, "Go in." Fire Mist Sword Immortal cupped his fists and quickly walked inside. After entering the door, there was another door inside. Fire Mist Sword Immortal walked to that door and cupped his fists. Fire Mist Sword Immortal greets Lord. An abnormally hazy and indistinct voice came from behind the door. Fire Mist, have you completed the task I gave you? Fire Mist is useless. I failed the task. Fire Mist Sword Immortal knelt on the ground and lowered his head. Please punish me, Lord. Fail. The voice of the Lord behind the gate became serious. I'm very confident in you. If you fail, it only means that the other party is indeed very strong. Initial judgment, it should be above the 5th stage of the Spirit Profound God. Moreover, his Dharma treasure is exquisite, and I couldn't break through his defense. I couldn't fight him head-on, and could only watch as he snatched the Eternal Sun Divine Arrow. Fire Mist Sword Immortal said with his head lowered. Do you know who that person is? My lord, I do not know. Fire Mist Sword Immortal shook his head. However, that person seemed to know my identity and knew that I would come to reinforce the Eternal Sun Divine Arrow, so he deliberately waited there. Although it was the first time I met that person, it didn't seem like it was the first time I came into contact with him. How strange. Oh, a slightly suspicious voice came from behind the door, and then there was no more sound. The Fire Mist Sword Immortal crouched with its head lowered, as if it was waiting for the sound behind the gate. After an unknown period of time. Now that things have come to this, you can no longer turn back. There's no need to be sad. My lord, Fire Mist Sword Immortal's face suddenly turned pale, but the voice behind the gate continued to come. The military group's rules cannot be broken. Go to the bitter prison to receive your punishment. You don't have to worry about this matter. Shogu has gone to Wuntai City to investigate the disappearance of the Ministry of Revenue's Zhanzuyang. When he comes back, I will ask him to look for the Eternal Sun Divine Arrow. You rest first. After that, there was no more sound behind the gate. Fire Mist Sword Immortal's face was especially ugly. He widened his eyes and looked at the gate. There was no longer a smile on his face. After a moment, he took a light breath, bowed to the gate again, and left. Fire Mist Sword Immortal was defeated, and the Eternal Sun Divine Arrow was temporarily fine. Suyin originally wanted to pursue, but he considered that if the Immortal Court sent more experts to fight, it would be extremely disadvantageous to him. Now that the suspicion of the Immortal Seeking sect had been cleared, if his identity was exposed again, it would be bad. Since the Eternal Sun Divine Arrow was already in his hands, he could also proceed with the next step of the plan. There was no need to complicate matters. Suyin looked around the Cloud Creek plain, and after confirming that there were no traces left, he immediately returned to the Immortal Seeking sect. Faceless led the 10 demon dwellers along the path that Suyin had planned before. Although the Immortal Court had strict control and was checking the identity of immortals everywhere, no matter how many people the Immortal Court had, it was impossible for them to cover the entire immortal world. Suyin had long ordered Xiangyang to clearly understand the areas and movements of the Immortal Court people around the Immortal Seeking sect in order to formulate a route to enter the Immortal Seeking sect. It was a sensitive period, and any disturbance would cause the Immortal Court to be suspicious and bring unnecessary trouble. When Suyin returned to the Immortal Seeking sect, Faceless had just brought the Eternal Sun Divine Arrow into the sect. He bypassed the area where the newly recruited disciples were active and directly transported it to the place where Su Yun cultivated. After bringing it into the sect, Su Yun started to inspect the strange treasure forged by the immortal court, the eternal sun divine arrow. Su Yun had a preliminary understanding of this treasure from Zhan Zuiyang's memories. It was a treasure that gathered the wisdom and effort of the immortal court's skilled craftsmen, and was also the symbol of the immortal court's wealth, ability, and intelligence. In order to prevent it from being stolen, the immortal court's skilled craftsmen specially made it so that it could not be placed in personal space, and set it to be unable to pass through a temporary teleportation door, which meant that the thief could not temporarily set up a teleportation door to steal the eternal sun divine arrow. Big brother, what is this? Su Luluo, who heard the sound, saw Su Yun walking around a strange object and immediately walked over to ask in confusion. This is the key to solving the immortal court's envoys. Su Yun said indifferently, Brother, have you confirmed the number of envoys? Su Luluo asked. Yes. Su Yun nodded his head and said, I will make a list of names later and hand it over to Faceless and let him deal with it. It is impossible for the 15 envoys to leave the immortal court at the same time, so Faceless will not have the chance. And if we kill them one by one, it will only arouse the suspicion of the people of the immortal court. So this time, we will not attack from outside the immortal court, but from inside. Su Yun said. Attack from inside? Su Luluo was shocked and said in astonishment, Big brother, don't tell me you plan to sneak into the immortal court? An assassination? No. Su Yun shook his head. Hearing this reply, Su Luluo was completely at a loss. Her fair and delicate face revealed a confused expression. Big brother does not plan to sneak in and assassinate. Then how should we deal with those envoys? Su Yun did not say anything, and only looked at the eternal sun divine arrow. Su Luluo was extremely intelligent. Seeing that Su Yun was focused on the object, he thought about it carefully, and seemed to have thought of something, and immediately opened his mouth, revealing a look of surprise. Big brother, are you sure you want to rely on this? Right now, we can only use this. Su Yun took a deep breath and said indifferently, because other than the 15 envoys, there are still a few high-level envoys, and these envoys are directly subordinate to the immortal court. If we cannot take care of them, we cannot take any action. If not, we only need to rely on their miraculous fortune-telling techniques, and we will be completely exposed, and in the future, we will definitely be eradicated by the immortal court. Right now, the immortal court does not suspect us, so we did not use those high-level envoys. If they're suspicious of us, we only need to invite them. I'm afraid that we will not be able to continue staying in the immortal world. But the risk of doing so is too great. Our current situation is already very dangerous. If we don't take the risk, how can we escape? Seeing the determination in Su Yun's eyes, Su Luluo knew that he had already made his decision, and persuading him was useless. Furthermore, other than this method, there was no other way, so he could only give up on persuading him. After thinking for a moment, he asked, Then, when does Big Brother plan to make his move? Although the eternal sun divine arrow has been lost, the immortal court will not give up on their attack on the underworld, nor will they give up on the idea of eradicating the devil cultivator. After all, there are already more than 100 people from the immortal sects who have responded to the immortal court's call to gather, and will follow the immortal court to attack the underworld together. If they suddenly stop, it will only make the hearts of the people from the immortal sects feel cold, and they will feel that the immortal court's actions are like child's play, which will greatly impact their position in the hearts of the people from the immortal world. The hearts of the people are what the immortal court needs to pay attention to the most, so I'm sure that they will continue to attack the underworld, but they will definitely delay it for a while before they can open the door to the underworld. They will delay it for as long as they can, so we have plenty of time. Hearing that, Su Luluo anxiously asked, Big brother, what's the problem? It's this. Su Yun looked at the eternal sun divine arrow and said, How to transport it to the right place? How do we transport it? Su Luluo was a little confused. It was also her first time coming into contact with the eternal sun divine arrow. After Su Yun's introduction, she suddenly understood and fell into deep thought. Without a doubt, the eternal Sun Divine Arrow was the most crucial step in this operation. If he could not successfully transport it to the right location, then everything would be meaningless. However, this item could not be placed in the space bag, nor could it be thrown into the special space, not even the sword sheath. If he were to openly transport it out, the possibility of it being exposed was extremely high. After all, the sky was filled with the inspectors and patrolmen of the Immortal Court. After thinking about it, Su Yun could not think of a suitable way. But not long after, Su Yulao's eyes suddenly lit up and said, "Big brother, Luluo has a way. It might work." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.